Welcome to SicEm365 Radio.
3rd down and 5. Ball's on the 8-yard line. Line to gain is the 3. Brewer. Nobody home. Calls his own number. Brewer! Touchdown!
SicEm365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Well, they are set up for quarterback draw big time.
There it is. Good call, Andre. Brewer scores. Touchdown, Baylor.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
It is Lovett in the backfield, and it's Brewer on his own for the Baylor touchdown.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
You know, we've done over 175 episodes of SicEm365 Radio, and today I don't know. We've had guests. We've had a ton of guests. But today there's so many different moving parts from Baylor's roster and the attrition, which we knew was coming. We just did not know who. Charlie Brewer yesterday made the announcement he will enter the transfer portal just a few minutes ago. John Lovett will leave. There is a pretty good feeling inside that building that Baylor otherwise will have very little others that leave the program. And that maybe some after spring see where things are. They might see where the depth chart might be, and perhaps they make decisions. But Baylor today got a commitment from Cameron Bonner. He's a wide receiver at St. Thomas High School in Houston. We'll hear from him in about 20 minutes. But also the tragic news of former Baylor safety Chance Was, who passed away yesterday. And you could see the chatter on Twitter from former players Taylor Young, Mo Porter, among many others. We're going to hear from Mo Porter on the life of Chance Was, the teammate. He'll join us today at 4:20. Plus, we'll hear from Phil Bennett. He was a part of the staff, of course, that recruited Chance Was to Baylor. There's news on Mount Vernon, Art Briles, and his coaching future, perhaps. We don't know that, but he's no longer at Mount Vernon. There's so much to get to. Elliot Coffey today, Blake Blackmar today, and also J.J. Joe today, and Mark plays for a fourth consecutive state title. And college football's turnstile of coaches, my goodness, it is in full throttle. Forget about nobody's going to get fired during COVID.
I've got an article forthcoming on the site, maybe after signing day. It's already done, but it is the way that college football conducts business doesn't make any sense to me in that, you know, you're paying $21.7 million for Auburn to send Gus Malzahn out the door. But I don't understand why they would give him an extension like that in the first place if it wasn't guaranteed that he was going to at least win 9-10 games a year. I mean, like, if you didn't feel that was for sure. But they did that. And then, you know, now they're on the hook for all this money that they have to pay half of it this week. It's silly.
Yeah, there's a lot of money out there. There's no question about it. The Baylor, by the way, now they're in full throttle, Craig, the offseason. When you saw the note from Charlie Brewer yesterday, I wrote a little thing about the legacy that I'll remember, your thoughts about Charlie, and then today's news with John Lovett. We weren't sure about Charlie. We kind of had an idea. We're not sure. We knew he'd have to make a decision. But we had a feeling about John Lovett.
Well, with all due respect to those guys, first I want to comment on Chance Was. That is far more of an important story than anything related to Baylor football right now. I understand we're going to get into all that, but I just want to comment on Chance first and just say, rest in peace, young man. I hope you're at peace now. I feel so terrible for his family. I just feel so awful for his family. This has been the year of years, and everybody's had it to some degree, you know, their trials and tribulations or their losses or whatever. I can't imagine what, you know, it must be like for his mother, for his brother, for his family, for his brothers on the Baylor football team all those years. And I know we'll talk about it further, but yeah, that was just terrible news. And, you know, I wrote an article last week and I was talking about how, hey, enjoy this weekend, whatever it looks like, because there's a good chance that this team doesn't look the same afterwards. And we've already seen John Lovett and Charlie Brewer into the transfer portal within 48 hours of that outcome. So, you know, it was not unexpected. It was something that, like I said, I wrote about. We talked about it last week. We went down a list of players saying who's in, who's out in our opinion, and two of the guys we thought are probably going to leave are gone now. So I'm surprised Lovett's actually going to try and play another year of college ball, but I think that's probably smart for him to get a year of tape where he's rushing for more than 300 yards or whatever he ended up with this season, and maybe plays a full year as well. He probably does need to put that on tape. And for Charlie, you know, NFL's not in his future. I think we can all agree on that. So I hope he goes somewhere where they have a really good O-line and he can, you know, do his thing.
Now, here's the thing. We'll also, speaking of Chance Was, we'll hear from two different people for sure about it. Plus, you can text us at 254-339-1122 if you ever had any conversations or met Chance Was. Mo Porter was one of the most emotional last night on social media about the loss of his teammate in Chance Was. He'll join us today, as I mentioned, at 4:20. You can imagine Phil Bennett today at 5. He recruited him along with his staff to Baylor back when Art Briles was still the head coach at Baylor. Elliot Coffey, 4 o'clock. J.J. Joe, 3:30. We'll have Cameron Bonner from Houston St. Thomas at 3:25. And then also Blake Blackmar on Charlie Brewer and his legacy as a young man that he saw come into the program at around 5:30 today. So a lot to get to. And you know, I've seen Mark Vital. We've seen others. We have discussed about the checking in with people, seeing if they're okay. I would think almost every family in America at some point or another, whether it's close family or proximity or some peripheral family, has dealt with suicide, and it's something that you live with the rest of your life. You always go, what if I would have made one more phone call? What if I would have just checked in on who and who? You know, even if you think everything's fine, and you saw that last night quite a bit with former Baylor players when it comes to Chance Was. Now, also, there was the story today, and this is something that we kind of have talked about for so long, and I just finally said, when it happens, that Baylor meeting in front of the NCAA Infractions Committee. I don't know if it's virtual or partly in person or whatever. Mack Rhodes will be with us sometime later in the week to kind of describe. He can't say much.
It's virtual.
But they're meeting with the NCAA about many things that went on from under Art Briles as the head coach. What is the truth? What is NCAA violations? What will happen? Is there show cause? Is it lack of institutional control? Has Baylor cleaned up? All of that will be discussed the next couple of days via the Zoom call, Craig, as you mentioned, involving. You know what? That's the best news of the day because it means it started. Find out. Figure it out. Whatever you might do, hold it up in court if you don't like it. Fight the NCAA if you don't like it, or maybe it won't be that big of a deal in the end, and get it out of your way, and people will not be able to use that against you once you know the final verdict.
It's not going to be that big of a deal. It's the NCAA. They cannot tie their own shoes. It's not going to be that big of a deal.
I'm not going to go all that far because, Paul, the NCAA is wildly unpredictable, and I understand totally what you're saying, but what do we typically see, you know, as far as the blue blood schools when they get in trouble? And even the blue blood schools get popped sometimes, like Miami a few years ago, and USC got popped a few years ago. Now, granted, it doesn't happen all the time. I mean, we see the situation like LSU right now, and who knows what's going to come of that, or some of these others, in basketball especially, the blue bloods seem to kind of typically get away with most things, but with a smaller school like Baylor, I really don't know. I mean, I think the fact that it's taken this long, that maybe that actually works in their favor, just because what are you going to punish? There's nobody left from his team on this team now, except for Jared Atkinson. I think is the only one, maybe one more player, but that's it. So you are going to end up, regardless of whatever you do, punishing a bunch of players who didn't even play for Art Briles, which is just absurd. So, I tend to side more towards where you are, but the fact that it is the NCAA, who knows?
The word you mentioned is the right word. They're unpredictable. Yeah. About the time you don't think they have a bite, and they don't, they want to still think they can take a chunk out of your ass. And that's what they've done with some people, whether blue bloods or not. But the good news is, thank God, whatever that is, get it out of the way. Don't take forever. Get it out of the way. And if it's going to be something you got to deal with it. It's too bad that LSU could have as bad a scandal, maybe in some cases worse. And they gave up a bowl game when they weren't going to go to a bowl game. But they got that out of the way. That didn't take long because that story from USA Today was only a month or so ago, even though some of the allegations were from a few years ago. There's a lot to get to in college football.
Yeah, I think that everything was so immediate with Baylor. You know, the coach, AD, president, all gone. The recruiting class was completely blown up. So if you're losing scholarships is a problem, they had to give scholarships to walk-ons, which is essentially the same thing, just to fill out their roster. So I think that the immediate impact of what happened works in Baylor's favor greatly.
I think that what they did, whether you agree with what they did or not, is going to help them. And I think that Dr. Livingstone, Mack Rhodes, and others will help them as well. Now, we'll see. We'll see.
And this is also newsworthy for those who, still follow along Art Briles, because he's part of this and he's potentially going to get hit with a show cause. And you can talk about Liberty or wherever you think he's going to land, but if he gets hit with a show cause, I think Liberty would be the only school that would come within 10 feet of him. And if he doesn't, then I think there would be more that would be willing to go after him. But that show cause matters. That's a big deal. So that's something that he's facing, while Baylor faces these other allegations as well. But it's going to be a couple days. It's going to be virtual starting today. Briles is going to be a part of it. A bunch of other people, like where did I just see that a second ago? There are a few other people that you've heard mentioned along with this story that are also going to be actively involved in it, along with obviously Mac Rhodes, et cetera. So it'll be very interesting to hear what happens out of this.
I know one thing, that I got the text from the superintendent and Jason McCullough, who's the one who had the nuts to be able to say, hey, we're going to hire you and we're going to stick behind you. And they had a PR firm. He sent that to me. I popped it up there, and that might be the most responded to thing I've ever seen that I've put up, other than when Lake Seastrunk was going to transfer from to Oregon to Baylor back almost a decade ago. The Big 12 championship game. Oh, and I did reach out to Coach Prowse, and I said, hey, if you let me know. And he just gave me the thumbs up on, I don't know whether it means, because Matt Wells is coming back at Tech, so that's off the table. That was a speculation. Level 2, 3, 8, 12, and DEFCON 5 sources.
I tried to tell you all last week.
Yeah.
I tried to tell you last week, this was like 5 guys who were scrambling up everybody else, getting reaction that then made the story itself bigger, even though majority of the reaction was like, I will never give to Texas Tech Athletics again if they hire him. That was like 75% of it, but it did become a conversation.
And that's dud for now.
And Texas Tech is, they are staying with Matt Wells, but they've also fired their offensive coordinator.
Yeah,
so
they have. No.
That's a change.
Big 12 championship game this weekend is Iowa State and Oklahoma. Hope we get to the kickoff. Washington will not play in the Pac-12 championship game. Instead, it will be Oregon. Washington has no offensive lineman available because of COVID. Joseph Asai will forego his last year with Texas. Major Applewhite, is that official?
Yeah.
To Arkansas State, former Texas quarterback to Arkansas State.
That Joseph Osai is a big loss. I mean, that is a really good player. I mean, he was easily probably UT's best player overall this season.
Lovie Smith out at Illinois. And then all of these numbers, 18.9 million, 21.8 million, 17.7 million, 21 million. These are the buyouts over the last decade of coaches Charlie Weiss, Will Muschamp, Kevin Sumlin, Gus Malzahn. That doesn't include many of the other money that you have to use to hire somebody. But Kevin Sumlin now has a total of $17.7 million in buyout money from A&M in Arizona. It's
dumb.
35 coaches in the SEC have been hired and fired. I
saw this list.
35 coaches in the SEC have been fired since Alabama hired Nick Saban. 35 of them. 35 of them. The UIL State Championship week in 4A through 1A 6-man starts Wednesday. It was supposed to start at 11, but the game between Balmorhea and also Richland Springs is off, at least for now. They'll cancel or postpone it till later. So the first game won't start until earlier that afternoon. That game was supposed to kick off at 11. Mark plays that night. We'll hear from Kevin Hoffman in about 30 minutes. The Cleveland baseball team, no longer the Indians. That's one of the other stories. Cowboys win yesterday. Today, Stephen Jones on the flagship in Dallas says that Mike McCarthy will be back as head coach. I just wanted to rattle all that, get that out, and then we can focus in on many things elsewhere as well.
I want to talk about a few of those things, but, the Indians aren't going to change their name until 2 years from now. So the Indians won't be the Spiders or whatever they're going to be this season. That's just one thing to pass along with that story.
254-339-1122, the Willis Law Firm chat room. That's the same part. You can go on the premium section, 254-339-1122. The phone lines are open as well on many things, from your thoughts on Charlie Brewer leaving, John Lovett now leaving, and it appears as if there may not be 10, 12, or others that might be out the door as well. Dave Aranda felt pretty confident in his postgame, and we have a couple of comments. Does Armstrong have that stuff,
yeah,
Paul?
He's got it.
Here, I want to go over one of them. The time, he kind of answered the timeline. We'll get to that a little bit later on. Here is Dave Aranda. This is the one about first-year head coach Armstrong. I thought it was a great analogy of what he dealt with one morning inside the football center. Listen, 2-7 was awful. It couldn't have been, no one could have, I never thought, maybe 4-5. Maybe that was my lower ceiling, but, some people overestimated him. That's fine. Predictions are wrong all the time, and they're right sometimes too. But this is Dave Aranda when he was asked about the first year as a head football coach in college football.
There was one specific week where stuff was kind of coming quick, and I remember I was walking through the hall, and I took a right, and there was someone with a problem, and I turned and I took a left, and there was somebody else, and that was kind of like how it's been. It's kind of been like that. So I think when it's stuff like that, you have to be you, man, right? And so I think that that's a blessing, really. And then I think the other piece is to always be learning, right? And then the stuff that you don't know, right? Lean on guys that have answers and learn and apply and get better as you go. I feel like there's been plenty of that. A lot of stuff where there's not, this has never been the case before. Like, what do you do when this happens? And it's never happened before, right? And so I think just going through that, I think there's a humbleness in there where we can all get better and grow with this and find ways that this makes us stronger.
That's
so
Dave.
Those two things.
That's Dave Aranda, head coach at Baylor, when he was asked in the post game after what was just a disastrous game against Oklahoma State, like the second or third play of the game, and throughout the game as well. We'll hear your thoughts about the season, Dave Aranda, the opt-outs, or the transfer portal, or the new quarterback room that has Jacob Zeno, Gary Bohannon for now, Blake Shapen, and then Kyron Drones, who will sign on Wednesday if anyone else also might come in as a grad transfer or a transfer to play for Baylor. Craig, you had a note about the Florida player, Keontae Johnson. He was the one that collapsed in the game with Florida State on Saturday. Is that correct? Just a quick update on him.
Yeah, thanks to Scotty for passing this along, Scotty VU King. Keontae Johnson has been placed in a medically induced coma after collapsing during the game over the weekend. According to his grandfather, he said his grandfather that they're just not sure about the coma. He said they may have had activity in the brain, so they induced the coma, and they put him on medication to keep him sedated, but there's not really a lot of information. They don't even know if this is anything COVID-related. Like, I know there are some people that are trying to connect those dots, but his grandfather said, I'm not even sure if he's ever had it. Like, I know he was in quarantine like other guys, but I don't know if he actually had it. So there's not a firm connection there. So there's still more to be learned, but yeah, that's scary, and that's not as ideal news as you'd want to have at this point after it happened a couple days ago. No, stable, critical but stable condition was what we heard after the game the other day, and I mean this obviously seemed, I don't know, I'm not a doctor, but this seems worse to me. That he's in a I would think coma. Yeah, I don't know anything about it either. I would think that that's not the direction you would be going a couple days after the fact. So just prayers to that young man, thoughts to that young man, and hopefully he pulls through.
Yeah, that was an awful situation. We were doing our pregame when we mentioned that earlier, from earlier in the day when they were playing Florida State. All right, here we go. We just finished football season in a way. Baylor's not going to play again for 264 or 5 days, whatever it might be, against Texas State. Who knows? The rest of this week, the rest of today, signing day Wednesday, then whatever else they bring in when it comes to players that transfer in. I will say this, and I don't know if you agree with me or not. It doesn't matter. I thought that despite how the football team played against Oklahoma State, which was awful, I thought that we heard Dave Aranda growing up a little bit, not so much X's and O's as a football coach, because he's already pretty good at that no matter what you think. But I thought he was growing up as well in how he handled the room, how he handled his press conferences, how he handled questions and much more. That's me. That's as a 61-year-old man. I felt that whether you do or not, whether that leads to another win or not, really, that's all that matters. But I thought I heard him grow up the last 2 or 3 weeks under the positives and the negatives, the disastrous and also some of the controversy.
Well, I know that we put good coaching jobs into wins and losses, but I'm going to tell you, the coaches that were able to coach the other day did probably some of the best coaching they'll ever do, and they might win 10 national championships. Because when you have to play guys, like there were guys playing on the line, and that's already a problem, but like Mose Jeffrey played a lot. And I don't think that was because it was just time to get him out, because he had to. They had guys playing that had to play so they could get this game in. And that is not an easy thing to do as a coach when it's like, okay, who do we have available? And you say, well, these guys can all play. And like, well, they haven't played for a reason. I mean, if this was a team that was deep and full of talent and you just come at you in waves like LSU last year or Alabama any year, then you know what? Maybe that's not a great coaching job because you're just letting, 5-star players get their shot. But that's not what this was on Saturday.
I asked Mack Rhodes when I saw him, I believe it was at halftime, and it might have been even in the second half when there was a break, and I went back. He was standing there, and not only did he look like he'd been run over by a truck, he looked like he'd been run over by a band of trucks. Think about this week with him. He's in front of the NCAA either right now or at some point he's already been and will be, and again tomorrow. His men's basketball team had to shut down a huge game on Sunday. It was only a week and a half ago when they couldn't play Gonzaga. Or 2 weeks ago when they couldn't play Gonzaga. No, it was a week and a half ago. The football team's getting drilled. They had to deal with COVID again on the staff. And on top of that, at the time, I didn't even realize he was about to face the NCAA. And so there's certain leadership that would have crumbled. And I'm sure there are times when Mack Rhodes probably wanted to curl up in a fetal position, and he didn't do it. And now Baylor needs him. Baylor fan base needs him more than ever. And so we'll see what happens with that. But there's a lot going on. Yes, 2-7 sucks, especially when you're coming off 11-3, Sugar Bowl, almost won a Big 12 title, inches away, right, seconds away. This was a disastrous record this year. But I don't know how many more wins could they have had. 3?
They could have had a winning record.
Yeah, that's 3. Right? That would be 5-4. And it would be so different. West Virginia, you miss field goals early, you throw the pick in overtime, bad stuff. The game against Texas Tech, right? And then just pick maybe one other game. And yeah, 5 wins would have been, and it just, you would feel like with 5 wins, everyone would feel so much better, right?
Well,
hell,
yeah.
Charlie might not be leaving, or maybe he still leaves. I don't know. Lovett might not have been leaving, although I feel like John Lovett, when he made the decision after Texas, he and Ebner, that maybe that was a start for him, although it looks good involving the future of Baylor and Treston Ebner, at least at this time. That could change in an hour.
All right, so here's what I have to say on this. Dave Aranda, I do think he's gotten a lot more confident the last couple weeks. I think, the season could have been better. Would it have made people feel better right now? I don't know. I think actually people are probably pretty – depending on where you ask, who you ask, in the middle on everything and maybe even leaning towards optimistic because let's face it, John Lovett was a really good player for Baylor for 4 years, but I feel like his time had kind of run out. And the way this season had gone, it was just about time for Lovett and Baylor, after 4 years together, to just go their separate ways. And John can go play somewhere where they'll have an O-line that can block for him. And maybe he ends up getting drafted a couple rounds higher as a result. Maybe he goes somewhere and he's the exact same player and we go, So it's a little bit of both. I mean, that's fine. Good for him. They've got backs. They don't have to have John Lovett back. With the Charlie Brewer thing, I felt really terrible for Charlie on Saturday. That was a struggle for him. I feel terrible for him, just in general over the way he's exiting and the way he's kind of been, talked about it and treated by the fan base for the majority of his career. I noticed he didn't say thanks Baylor fans in his message, and I don't know if that was intentional or not, but I know there's not a whole lot of love lost there, and it's been a rough go for him as QB1, and granted, some of that's on his shoulders as well, but bottom line is, no matter where he stood on the Charlie Brewer line, it doesn't matter anymore.
Yep.
All this talk we've had for 4 years about put in Zeno and put in this guy and all that doesn't matter anymore. So I think people should be, thankful for Charlie and what he did, whether you are a big fan of his or not. But now let's be excited about the fact that there is going to be somebody new, and it could be Jacob Zeno or it could be anybody else for that matter. And, that's kind of exciting that we're going to see something different.
The next starting quarterback at Baylor may not even be a part of the National Signing League class or on their roster right now. We don't know that. But you look up and you got Zeno, Bohannon, let's say he leaves, Chapin, Drones, and then you bring somebody else in. That's pretty healthy, although, again, it was already healthy in a way. They just couldn't execute it the way you wanted. We got to take – we got to use Cameron Bonner right here.
No, we probably need a break.
Let's take a break. We'll come back with the latest commit to the Baylor class of 2021 today, St. Thomas wide receiver Cameron Bonner. And then also J.J. Joe and his thoughts. He played the game. He played at Baylor. He broadcasts, he analyzes the game about Baylor and their future. SicEm365 Radio.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac, the holiday savings event going on right now. And they've got a lot of great deals and thousands in savings for you as well. And the most wonderful time of the year. You can save big on all remaining 2020 vehicles in stock. And that includes the 2021 GMC Sierras with power, first-class seating, unbeatable technology. Sierra is the best truck on the road, and during Richard Carr's holiday savings event, qualified buyers can unwrap $8,000 off a 2021 GMC Sierra Texas Edition Crew Cab at Richard Carr. Maybe you're looking for a top-of-the-line midsize SUV. Well, Richard Carr is offering $7,000 off of GMC Terrains and $7,500 off of Buick Envisions. You can test drive both and save big today. They've also got the new 2020 Buick Encores for only $18,950, over $5,000 in savings on the top-selling Buick Encore 2020 models. And, of course, they've got the Cadillacs as well. Save $3,000, get 0% financing for 72 months on most Cadillacs in stock, including the XT4, XT5, and XT6. Let Richard Carr bring the Cadillac experience to you with test drives at your home or office. And at Richard Carr, they love their healthcare workers, military, first responders. Right now, all these valuable community heroes will get GM supplier pricing on all cars in stock. And for every car or truck sold now, Richard Carr will donate a new bike to Toys for Tots Waco. So get yourself a great deal and give a deserving kid a bike this Christmas. The holiday sales event at Richard Carr. Get there now. Go to richardcarr.com or have them bring the test drive to you.
At Baylor University, students find their place to shine. They're faithful friends and inspirational leaders. They're championship teammates and independent thinkers. They're on the cutting edge of high tech and in the halls of history. If you want to make the world a brighter place, you can. And if you want to shine in your own way, you can. The spark you need is already inside you. Bring it to Baylor, where lights shine bright.
Waco Custom Marketplace is your home for holiday favorites for parties and the time with family. Various specials available in-store and online. A variety of steak gift boxes with 4 ribeyes for $70, 4 bacon wrapped fillets for $55, or 4 New York strips for $50, and all come with steak butter. Fall snack box for watching a game or wrapping presents or hosting people at your house, including summer sausage, split horn, and jalapeno cheese, and salted crackers for only $35. 2 pieces of lobster tails with herb butter and 2 bacon wrapped fillets for $60. Order online or call in advance to ensure availability, or drop by Waco Custom Marketplace at 425 Lake Air Drive. Waco Custom Marketplace has a full-service butcher shop for customized orders or cuts of your favorite steaks or beef tenderloin or specially ordered prime rib roast. Plus, what you want with pork, poultry, seafood, and more. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
In Texas, there's pea-size hail and baseball-size hail. Guess which one hit our house? We didn't even know where to begin, but we called our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent, and he was so reassuring. He knew exactly what to do to get our house back into shape and our lives back to normal. Now, we're even more thankful for the roof over our heads.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Let's face it, some people just like driving around in the nude. Hi, Jay here from Pickup Outfitters to talk about those truck owners that know they have naked trucks but simply don't care. You'll hear them saying something like, I'm just driving around free and easy, nothing constricting me. Gross. But there is something that can entice almost any naked truck owner. Leather. I mean, they kind of go together, right? And Pickup Outfitters is an authorized dealer and professional installer of cat skin leather seats. So I'm asking you to do your part and help us end truck nudity. The next time you're near your naked truck owner friend, you can say something like, you know what would really be sexy on your truck? Leather. And they'll get that sly smile, and you know you've hit them in their weak spot. Pickup Outfitters installs factory matching leather kits or custom kits in just about any color combination for your truck or even car. It's the sexy thing to do. You can be part of the problem, or you can create a commotion with cat skin leather seats at Pickup Outfitters. 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
With your Ram truck from Allen Samuels, you may not have to plow through snow and mud or pull heavy loads, but you could. During the Big Finish year-end event, you get a Ram deal like no other. Employee pricing for all, 0% for 84, and no payments for 90 days. Ram 1500 Lone Star for Christmas. No other truck comes close. And ask about Big Finish pricing on Ram Heavy Duty and Ram ProMaster for your business. Happy holidays from Allen Samuels.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio.
The Sic'em365 Radio Live Guest VIP Hotline is sponsored by Stonewood Dental. We are all in this together.
In 1 second, we'll hear from Cameron Bonner, then J.J. Joe. But one other note, Edinburgh football player Emmanuel Duran has been suspended by the UIL for the remainder of the academic athletic school year. That means he will not be a part of any other sports the rest of the year. And Edinburgh's head coach received a public reprimand, placed on probation for the following year, and the high school public reprimand probation for 2 years stemming from the incident, along with other things that have gone on within that athletic department.
And El Paso sports officials breathe a sigh of relief that they will not run into this young man for a third time. I actually read at the time that apparently, and I don't know, it's Twitter, but there was a fan that was in attendance, and we had moved on from the story, that said that this kid's father was like actively like goading him, like go, like he kind of set the table for that kid going after the official. And that was from someone who was in attendance at the game back then when that happened. So,
well,
yeah.
he's not going to do what he's supposed to do, and that was wrestle and other things the rest of the way. Here's my quick conversation. Just because he committed today, it's been a tough couple of days, 2 or 3 days for Baylor. National Signing Day Wednesday. It's a new page. Here's Cameron Bonner from St. Thomas High School in Houston. Cameron Bonner, St. Thomas High School in Houston, has committed to Baylor, and it's National Signing Day on Wednesday. Cameron, your thoughts about the decision? Why Baylor? And in the end, it comes just a couple of days before National Signing Day. How you feel?
Right, I'm good. Thank you. It was a long process since my first offer came in February, and since then, everything's just been phone calls, Zooms, talking to coaches, talking to other players, just everything. And it's been really, really fun, though. I can say that. And the reason I committed to Baylor, though, was just because of the philosophy of Coach Aranda and just the whole staff, of how they care about the person's character and how they want to build that, and then having them build into a better player, and then it will just transfer onto the field, and just the opportunity to play receiver again at this level. And playing the Big 12 has always been a dream. Playing Power 5 football, and I know that this will be a great opportunity to play.
Cameron, you know they did not have the best year, and the offense, of course, struggled quite a bit. And they've lost some players that were wide receivers off their class of 2021. Do you sometimes say, hey, someone else doing whatever they do opens the door for you?
Right. Yes, sir, definitely. Because when the two receivers who decommitted from Baylor committed in the beginning, it was like, okay, maybe Baylor isn't the place for me right now, and I can look at these other schools and give them a chance now. Because I had visited Baylor in March, and I was kind of like, okay, I really like Baylor right now, and I might make a move soon. Soon and later or earlier in the year. And then when they committed, it was like, okay, God's telling me this isn't it right now. And then so just when other offers started coming in, I started giving other teams chances and talking to more coaches. And then when they decommitted about a month ago or two, it just opened the door right back. And I was just like, okay, let's try this again, and stuck with it.
Who is the one that actually recruited you, and what was that conversation like when you made the commitment today?
I've been talking to Coach Munoz a lot, Coach Nance, Coach Larry, and Coach Aranda a lot also. Just every time I'm on the phone with one of the coaches, I talk to the whole staff by the end of the phone call. So really, I told Coach Munoz and Coach Aranda first, and then the whole staff found out, and then here I am committing today.
Baylor's got some transition on their roster going on right now. You know that. Charlie Brewer, John Levitt, there might be more. And there will be some coming in, not just your class as well. Are you excited to be kind of like a fresh start with what they need to do to turn around from this year?
Most definitely, because I know what I'm capable of, and I just know that I can make a difference on any team, and especially for Baylor being wanting to play for them. I know I can make a big difference.
That's Cameron Bonner, the wide receiver, St. Thomas. Craig, you said he had a list, a nice list of offers of some other schools in Power 5 schools.
Yeah, Arizona, Houston, Colorado State, Texas A&M, SMU, Utah. So, yeah, a lot of big schools involved. Washington State, Wisconsin, Virginia Tech, et cetera.
And there'll be more that might be added to that class on Wednesday, National Signing Day. J.J. Joe, broadcast analyst for Baylor football and former Baylor quarterback, joins us on Sic'em365 Radio. So obviously Saturday went very badly, and there's all sorts of ways to wrap up the year. But let me start, JJ, with Charlie Brewer. Moving on, you saw a little bit of a glimpse of Jacob Zeno. That's all we've ever seen with him. Your thoughts about the quarterback going forward, but also the legacy of Charlie Brewer?
Hey, Smoak, thanks for having me on, man. And, I guess, I hated to see the news from Charlie, but to be frank with you, I kind of expected something. I'm not going to say this, but something. I just think that, while we hate to see, Charlie move on, I think that, just as I think it became apparent that maybe the fit between the offense and what Charlie's strengths are, maybe there was a disconnect there. But I will say this, the legacy of Charlie, I mean, he's the second, I think, leading passer all time at our university. He led the team to a Big 12 championship game as well, and he helped us get back to the bowl game during 11. So I mean, it'll take a while. I mean, Charlie probably has a little sting, I guess you can say, in his soul a little bit, kind of how this year went. But I think once you get a few years removed, that leaves, and you remember really what meant most in those relationships as well as the accomplishment, because you can't take that away.
John Lovett's leaving as well, and this is probably not the last one, but maybe the last one for a few weeks or maybe until spring. JJ, what do you think about this year and like the tumultuous nature of what's going to be the transfer portal going forward?
Yeah, that portal, it'll be something else. Not only do you recruit the guys in high school, I just heard you talking to a new recruit that's going to come in, but you got to recruit the guys that are already there. But I mean, guys, I think this is going to be the new age of football because there's going to be movement. Some people are not comfortable with it, but if we're honest, the system has been really one-sided for a long time. A kid would commit, the kid was stuck, and if he did leave, he had to sit out, burn a year of eligibility. So, it's going to change. It's going to be different. But I mean, with Lovett leaving, to answer your question, I kind of expected that. I just. Once Lovett opted out and then, it really got uneven, sometimes when a guy's ready for a change, it's good that, they go ahead and stick with that change. And I just, you always hate to see a young man that meant so much to the program leave, but eventually everyone leaves. The program keeps going. The game keeps going. Guys move on to, whether it's into industry or into pro football or just into life. And sometimes the departure is not like we want it to be, but I wish him well, and I think Baylor will be just fine.
JJ, what did you see from Jacob Zeno in the time we did get to watch him?
I mean, you could tell the change. I mean, we saw Zeno just for a little bit at the end of last year. He looked more decisive. He actually looked a little bit more mobile than he did the years ago. I know he's a pocket guy, good arm. The ball pops out of his hand. That's what I like about him. He seemed to have it made up in his mind. I'm going to go through 1-2. If the 1-2 is not there, I'm running. He actually looked quicker, fresher than I expected from Zeno. So I'm interested. I'm hoping that, this transfer stuff and the change, hopefully I think he sees this as an opportunity to compete with Chapin and we got a recruit coming in as well. I think it's Drones. I hope I didn't mispronounce his name.
No, you're right.
So I think he looks at it as an opportunity, man. And I want to see this kid play because I think the ball pops. I think it pops out of his hand. And I think he fits probably with and I don't know what's going to go on with the coaching staff, but what this offense is trying to do, which is, hey, recruit athletes, get the ball out of your hand and watch them go.
When you say you don't really know what they're trying to do, is that because they never really had a chance to put it all together because of the ups and downs of 2020, or because they were trying to, and I asked Dave Aranda this a week ago, JJ, were they trying to fit a square in a circle with Charlie Brewer and Larry Fedora?
I really think it just, I thought when it came in, I really liked Fedora being there. But I think spring, I hate to keep saying, but spring killed him. Because I think Charlie is not the fit for Fedora's offense. And that's as direct as I can say. I mean, I wouldn't have been a fit for Fedora's offense. Because, I mean, if you look at who he had before he came, if I go to UNC and I look at his quarterback, I wrote this at SicEm365 on the website. You look at the guys, all those guys that he had, even when he first got there, was 6'2", 6'2 to 6'4". They're about 220. They all had NFL caliber arms. And they were more pocket guys. I think Marcus Williams was a little bit more mobile, but he really tried to throw it. So it doesn't fit. And so it's not a knock against Charlie. It's not a knock against Fedora. The only thing I think we struggle to do is make this thing fit. And the lack of spring and seeing what his strengths were, and then the lack of fall practice, really having everybody there. it really killed this offense. And you could tell. I mean, man, we had games where we had, 50 yards at halftime?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that many? It didn't feel like
we struggled. I mean, yeah, it struggled. So, man, this change, I know it's a lot and it's new because, I mean, the portal is open. First time we've had mass exodus like this, in a sense. I think after 16 was kind of wild, or 17, whatever that was. But I look at it as it's fresh. These guys prayerfully will go through spring. They'll have a whole new crew in here. I look at next year as Aranda year one, not this past year. And I will tell you, I mean, from watching this team play, number one, I would love to play offense because, number one, he's going to give you the freedom to throw the ball around the lot and be aggressive. And they're going to have a defense. I mean, if there's one thing I learned this year, that this coach, and Coach Roberts, combined with Coach Aranda, they're going to have a defense and they're going to have players developed, and they're going to get you the ball back.
JJ, the offensive line also didn't really ever help in Charlie's development. It was as good as it was last year, and that was still, they struggled to run the ball at times. And really, did they ever have an offense in Charlie's 4 years that truly protected him?
No, they didn't. I mean, I think Charlie plays probably best in a little helter-skelter, speed-up environment. But, I mean, the protection this year, I thought it was really – they never had continuity up front. I mean, if it wasn't one guy missing assignment, it was another guy. If they weren't picking up regular TE stunts, guys losing one-on-one battles. And that's – I hate to say that because I don't want to make it seem like, I'm knocking the young man. But the line did not perform at a level that you need to in the Big 12 in the Big 12 Power 5 conference to compete and win 6, 7, 8, 9 games. So for Charlie, he struggled. He often had to be on the move. I think he started to get to the point where he was looking to move, and a lot of times he was missing guys. And I think part of that is if you get hit enough times, and I tell you that, if you get hit enough times back there, I don't care if you're Superman. That missing blocks is kryptonite for a quarterback.
From your position, JJ, I mean, I know you're broadcasting the game, but you're around the program, and I'm sure you go back and watch and whatnot. What did you pick up on just the growth of Dave Aranda as a head coach? Did you notice anything like from him just getting more comfortable? Was there anything you picked up on just throughout these last few games as he closed out his first year?
Yeah, I got a feeling. I mean, he still explains stuff more like a assistant coach than he does an OC. As a head coach. Because most head coaches kind of keep it pretty surface and don't give much, but he's not. He's going to give you what he's thinking. He's going to give it to you. I like that. I think he'll slowly. I'm not going to say he'll change. He's probably going to be who he is. But I mean, I think maybe over time that'll change with him. But I think game management piece. I think he really started owning it more. So I say about the last 3 or 4 games of the year. I think you saw him early on. I think he was really maybe conservative. Probably trying to feel his way around. Then late in the game, late in the season, I saw, like small things like I remember we were calling timeouts. We were down. I forgot what game that was. We were down, and we were calling timeouts. And I think this was him sending this message like, I know we're down. We have no way of winning, but we're going to keep fighting. We're going to keep going. And I don't care what and who thinks that it's the wrong decision of making. So I think for him, I think that's why I say next year to me is year one for him. Because number one, he'll be able to put his whole system in place. He'll have a real full cycle, and then I think that'll make a big difference.
JJ, was it ironic the first time that Jacob Zeno went back to pass after coming in for Charlie Brewer, he was sacked in less than 2 seconds?
No, not really. Not really. I'm telling you, man, it doesn't matter. Sometimes I'm telling you, and it's and for him. It's great to have, young men like the young man you had come on the screen. I think it's Cameron.
Yeah.
He's a receiver. It's great to have Cameron come in. But, man, you got to have those big, I'm not going to call them big uglies. That's what everybody else calls them. I'm calling them those big cuties who are tough, who can block, man. That's the first thing you look at is who do they have up front? And that makes the big difference. Because if you can at least hold your own up front, then all those guys like Cameron and, the Taekwons and the Josh Fleeks and the R.J. Sneeds and all those guys on the edge can really flourish in the quarterback. If you don't, then, you'll have a really frustrating season.
Yeah, it's hard to call them ugly when you're a quarterback and they're keeping you from getting murdered. So
That's right, exactly. So they're not big ugly. That's what everybody else calls.
It's a beauty pageant if you're a quarterback.
Yeah.
God, you're gorgeous.
I mean, I couldn't help but chuckle a little bit when it was third down on Zeno's first drive and he drops back and there's like a half a second he's just getting sworn. I'm just like, see, it doesn't really matter who's back there. But I mean, the arm strength and you mentioned the running, JJ. We didn't get to see him run around a lot last year because he played so little, but that was something I noticed as well, is that he's a little bit of a better mover than I expected.
Yeah, and if you remember, we had Coach Randon, and he said a couple times, like, what he would like for Charlie. He's like, I like Charlie when it's 1-2, boom, we go. And that's what you could tell. I think, like, either he said that out loud or in the quarterback room, because that's what Zeno was doing. Mm-hmm. Zeno was like, boom, boom, gone. If it wasn't boom, or if it wasn't boom 2, boom, he would run. And one time it went boom, run. So I think he that was a good thing for him. Coaches expected me to do 1 read, 2 read. If it's not there, then take the run. And it helped, I think, simplify things in his mind, and it sped him up a little bit, which is good. So, I mean, I look forward to seeing more from him. I think he can be a really good player.
Hey, man, we appreciate your insight, JJ, and have throughout parts of the year. Always enjoy your work. Thanks for your time. And I know you can see things because you played that position and kind of get a feel for it, and we appreciate it. I thought it'd be important to have you on today to discuss it. And, this was a bad year. It was a disappointing year. But the good news is you turn a page, you move on, you sign some new guys, get a few transfers, and go into the next year, right?
Hey, man, at the most, you're going to have these guys 4 years. Maybe now it's 5, but, hey, it's always a churning, my man, always a churning.
Thank you so much. J.J. Joe, Baylor broadcast analyst for Baylor football, former Baylor quarterback with us on SicEm365 Radio. One note, by the way, on Matt Wells is going to be back as head coach. There looks like there's going to be a change perhaps at offensive coordinator.
No, there is.
There is. Okay.
Yost is out.
So their number one or their best quarterback commit who was going to sign Wednesday, is that right?
Okay, so Yost is out. Yost is gone. Matt Wells is staying. And Baron Mortons, who is like their jewel of their class, he's their 4-star quarterback. He's been committed for probably a year at this point. I know Baylor offered him early on, but Baron Morton, he committed to Tech rather quickly. But, with the change at OC, he's announced he's backing away for the time being and will not sign on Wednesday. That doesn't mean he won't sign with Tech. That just means he'll sign with Tech potentially a little later. But it does open the door, it does open the door that if somebody does get their foot in and gets in his ear a little bit, that he isn't signing Wednesday, so you have time to flip him. So if there's anybody out there looking for a 4-star quarterback, well, there's a guy that you may want to give a phone call to.
There you go. Baylor will sign Kyron Drones. He'll sign sometime. I think he'll have a ceremony a little bit after lunch, talking to his father, Kevin, earlier this week. And Kyron will be a part of our show. Colt, Grayson, and all the guys at SicEm365.com will have a 7 a.m. show here in the studio. Armstrong, are you going to be here at 7 o'clock for that National Signing Day show? That'll be 7 a.m. Wednesday. That's when they start getting the ticker. I see Baylor starting to put up this almost like a magazine for their coverage on game day, National Signing Day, game day. We will have players as well who will be a part of the show throughout the day on Wednesday, and that will be between 3 and 6 on Wednesday.
Yeah, that'll be great, and I know that they're looking forward to it, and so we'll have all of your National Signing Day coverage. I did want to pass along, Kirk Bowles had a little note on Charlie Brewer, because now the Austin media is going to be covering him again with him being a free agent. Said that Charlie hadn't returned home from Waco yet after informing Baylor of his decision, but his father, Robert, told Kirk Bowles that it's going to be about a week or so before Charlie decides where he wants to go. And what's interesting is that SMU is a spot that I mentioned for him, and also Tanner Mordecai. But apparently Shane Buechele might be looking to come back. Okay. So that you would think, put a crimp in the plans of guys like that. Mordecai and Brewer are going to be looking to probably play pretty quickly.
I thought it was one of the timing thing. Remember last week when I mentioned Charlie Brewer had a new Twitter account? Mm-hmm. That was not just happenstance.
I didn't think so.
He got a new Twitter account and then announced 2 days later that he was leaving. And I'll say this, again, you can criticize the skill set, whatever you want, or the play, the performance, whatever. Every time he took the field, he gave his blood and guts. And Baylor football put up a highlight reel of him and some of the plays that he made. One of the ones I'll remember was the play against TCU last year in one of the overtimes when he scored at the goal line. And I didn't think he had a chance to run into that linebacker. I hope you have a chance at 5:30 to hear from Blake Blackmar, the former Baylor offensive lineman, on Charlie Brewer, his young kid that comes in, and kind of how Matt Rule brought him in, how he kind of found a way to mix him in, even with the 3s or the 2s or the 1s in practice, and you could kind of see what was happening. And now that room is Zeno, Chapin, Drones, and possibly Gary Bohannon, although Brian Etheridge has been great on who he thinks is going to come and go. He felt Brewer was gone. He felt Lovett was gone. He felt Ebner's back. He did think that Gary Bohannon will leave. That is not official, but that's one to look at as well.
Yeah, the Gary Bohannon stuff's just been kind of strange for a few weeks now. And then Aranda made the comment in the post game that a lot of people raise their eyebrows over, well, Jacob's been the number 2 for a while. And a lot of people went, whoa, wait a second, what?
I'll take blame for that. I did not know that. We have been discussing this possibility of someone coming in, but when Charlie went down against Oklahoma, or looked like he was going down, Gary Bohannon's the one that started warming up. But Zeno came in. Hey, Armstrong, have that 30-second comment. Do you have that right now? I know we got to do. I know, Paul. I know.
LA Coffee coming in. So.
The one from Aranda.
Yeah, about Jacob Zeno. This is very short. It's like 30 seconds. Here's Dave Aranda when someone asked him about Jacob Zeno.
He probably felt like holy smokes, I'm in, and so there's some energy with him for sure. And then I think there's some good confidence with him. I thought when he got set in the pocket, he knew where the ball was going and got the ball out. And then the times that the stuff was covered up, he scrambled and was smart with the ball. And so I thought there's a lot of positive things. Proud of how he handled it.
That's Dave Aranda. Coming up in 10 minutes, we'll have Elliott Coffee. But right now, Mark trying to win 4 consecutive state titles. And my conversation with head coach Kevin Hoffman, SicEm365 Radio. PettyClinicLowT.com. Dr. Kent Petty would be a really nice Christmas gift for someone if you have someone who's kind of, they've gotten a little bit older. They're a little lethargic. And ladies, the possibility, even a gift as well for your man, because Petty Clinic Low T can get blood work, look at the levels of testosterone, and if in fact your blood levels are too low, which happens as you get older, they can put whoever that might be in the program to raise the testosterone levels and help you become a higher performance man. And if you just are listening, you're a man, you're 35 or 40, you're starting to feel a little bit different, 45, 50, and it doesn't happen to everybody, but 1 out of every 3 men have some sort of symptoms of low testosterone. So why not find that out if that's the case? A lot of times people think of low T as just sex drive or endurance. It could be much more. It could be your energy, sleeping, whatever. Just feeling better. PettyClinicLowT.com. Dr. Kent Petty will get you discounted lab work. Tell him Smokey sent you. Look at it. If the numbers are too low, he'll put you in a program to help you become the high-performance man you want to be at PettyClinicLowT.com. One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Texas Board Certified Personal Injury Trial Lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recalled drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com, principal office in Houston, Texas.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, rye, brimstone, and the all-new lineage in stock. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries. Celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas, our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Come see us at the new Baylor Scott and White Ted and Sue Getterman Sports and Orthopedic Center. Trusted doctors at Baylor Trust, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
The holidays are here, and I have a simple question for you. Will you weigh as much more or less than you do right now when the holidays are over? Why not end the year in better shape than when you started and create momentum for 2021? Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness has numerous options for stocking stuffer gifts with gift cards for gym or tennis membership, fitness merchandise, tanning, massage, tennis lessons, and personal training. Perhaps a gift for a client, a family member, or a friend. You just need to walk through the front door to change your life. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with personal trainers Christy London and Randall Corley. 40-plus group exercise classes, including twice-a-week boot camp. Spacious, clean workout room, free weights, Cybex cardio equipment, and no intimidation. A tremendous camaraderie and family atmosphere. So get the best and healthiest Christmas gift you can for someone or yourself. It's time to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lake Shore Drive in Waco.
Hi, this is Mart High School football coach Kevin Hoffman, and I'm a proud listener and supporter of the all-new SicEm365 Radio Show with David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
This segment with Mart Panthers football coach Kevin Hoffman is sponsored by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, Southwest Sports Medicine, First National Bank of Central Texas.
Mart head football coach Kevin Hoffman, state championship week, home away from home for the Mart Panthers at AT&T Stadium in Irving. In the history of high school football, 100 years in Texas, only 4 teams have ever won 4 state titles or more in a row. Sealy, Salina, Fort Hancock, 4. Lake Travis had 5 straight. What's that mean when you're going for that in your championship game on Wednesday?
It just means that, you've been added to the list of some great teams, great traditions for Texas high school football, amongst some others. But those guys are some blue bloods and have been around for a long time, and we would like nothing more than to be added to that group.
And it's crazy because even when you mentioned the year you went back-to-back, as great as Mart has been over the years, that was a first, then 3 in a row, and now a chance to go 4 straight. Your thoughts about Windthorst? I've noticed they've had 5 wins against teams that have won 10 games or more. They've played good people. They just beat Wellington in a slugfest. Your thoughts about them?
Yeah, they got a great program. We played them back in 2017, so we have a little bit of history with them. But, they run, the spread offense and then can play smash mouth with you. And defensively, they're as tough and as hard-nosed as they get. They've been ranked in the top 5 all year long. Played some really good people and beat some really good brand-name teams. So it's going to be a slugfest.
you know what, this is a week where the weather's been kind of nasty. You get to play indoors. That's what's the great thing about AT&T Stadium, a controlled environment. But you've had to practice already in some very tough conditions. Does that make it? I mean, that you're tough. You guys would play anywhere. You'd play in Alaska if you had to. But your thoughts about the conditions this week?
Yeah, it's it's going to be different than any other week. Playing indoors. But like we've been there the last 3 years, so we played in practice in some tough conditions over the years. So these kids are just like anybody else. It's a little tough sometimes at practice when it's cold and the wind's howling out of the north. And if you've ever been to our stadium, there ain't nothing to block the wind. And when it's 10 to 15 miles an hour out of the north for everybody else, it's probably 25 to 30 coming across our game field. So it's a little bit different, and kids are kids, and it's a little chill. It's a little tough sometimes, but these kids understand that they'll fight through it, and they see what's at the end of the tunnel here.
Speaking of your stadium, speaking of Mart ISD, when I went and saw you last week, I was absolutely blown away by the changes within the school district, the facilities. How proud is everybody? I know the Davis family was huge, but how proud is that community of what you now have with those schools?
Well, the J.L. Davis family and the community members here of Mart, Texas, basically, gave us the money to build this place, and we built a beautiful new high school, and if you've been through town, you're seeing all the wind turbines going up, and there's going to be more money pumped into this community, and we've got a grant to redo the water system, redo the roads, and so here in the next 5 or 10 years, this place is going to be even more amazing as far as, the town and the facilities and those types of things, because there's more things in the works. But, we're as proud as we could be of our new school and our athletic facilities. But, the people that came before us and the old school that was still, a great school that is no longer, but we still remember the people that were here in the past that paved the way for us now and the kids in the future.
Kevin, I had a chance, thanks to you, to interview Micah Sauls. We did on SicEm365 Radio on Friday. He talked about how his father had a ring from the 99 team. He talked about how his grandfather's brother, and it's all about lineage, generational, the greatness of Mart. Isn't that, I basically said, it's just basic. We're born as a man, a young boy, a child. You're born and they inject Mart Panther blood in you. Is that correct?
It is. This place is amazing that they just keep producing, athletes and players and good people. The kids that I've coached now, like you said, their dads played here years ago, and then their uncles played here, and then their grandfathers played here, and you can just go back as far as you want to go back, and we still have a lot of people, elderly people that still come to our games and enjoy that played here, 40 and 50 and 60 years ago. So it's just unbelievable, the support and everything that we get from the community. And, like I said, the people, it just continues to go. The people that were born and raised here stay here, and we lose a few people that move off, but pretty much the kids are born and raised here.
Final thing. You're about to play for a state championship. We know all the numbers and all the things you've done in recent years and overall at Mart High School. Did you ever think back in August when things were back and forth with even being able to practice or play that you would get to this moment?
We hoped to, and we prayed for it, and, just to be able to have a season and have an opportunity. But, things were kind of dire that back then in the summer when we didn't know if we were even going to be able to start practice or play games or anything like that. And we lost games through this season because of, COVID and people having to forfeit or change schedules. And so we're blessed to have made it this far, just like any other year. But the COVID thing has really made it stressful on the coaches, the players, the parents, and it's just one of those things. And what don't kill you only make you stronger. And so, we feel like that the tough times and this disease, this virus is taking a lot of lives from a lot of people. And so we're just praying for those families that have been affected, and hopefully that we can get a cure for this thing and we can move past it, and we'll all be better for it.
Kevin Hoffman, good luck, Coach. Thank you. That's Kevin Hoffman, head coach at Mart, playing for a 4th consecutive state title Wednesday against Winthor. Sic'em365 Radio.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and 2-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Engel at the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like instant issue debit cards free at all of our banking centers, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas, familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Welcome back to Sic'em365 Radio.
From the 37, that one. Now Egnew on their own bubble. And a big tight end. Put the ball on the ground. It's loose. And Baylor says they have it at the 49. Do they? Yes.
I think it was the hit by Elliott Coffey that knocked the ball loose as well.
Coffey made him cough it up.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, here we go. This 4 o'clock hour is awfully busy. We'll hear from Mo Porter, former Baylor offensive lineman, on his friendship with the late Chance Waz. Also today, we'll hear as well the high school football players of the week from what is now down in Central Texas to two teams, Mart and Franklin in Class 2A and Class 3A. Franklin has Canadian. Mart will play Windthorst in the championship game. We're now joined by former Baylor linebacker Elliot Coffey, also a part of the pregame show for Baylor and their network pregame, and he joins us on SicEm365 Radio. First of all, Elliot, did you ever what are your thoughts about Chance Waz? We'll have Mo Porter next. Phil Bennett recruited him. He'll join us at 5, and just reflecting back on any type of conversations you ever had with Chance Waz.
Yeah, so Chance and I never really got to spend time together, but I mean, I got to cover him for 4 or 5 years. So, it's tough, right? I mean, there's no two ways to put it. He's all these younger guys that have come in after me. I look at them like younger versions of myself, like little brothers that are out there hustling, working hard, trying to live out their dream. And then, for a guy like him, plays with some of the best teams in Baylor history. And so it's just tough to see, him pass with, such a bright future and a guy that really did so much for the university.
Now, you and I sat most of the year within 15 feet of each other. Seth Russell sometimes got in our way. But at the same time, you and I talk on occasion when the game is either going on or wrapping up. What was that we saw Saturday night? How do you describe what happened?
It's funny you mentioned it. I defer to you because I didn't really know how to talk about it. It was, I think, just a culmination of a lot of things. I think, number one, the start and stop of a season. I mean, how many times this year were we wondering on Friday night whether or not the game was actually going to get played? And then, for example, or even worse, this week, they shut down the facility with 2 days until game time. You got 47 players, front office and coaches that are out. And so trying to put together a production, the size of a football game on such a skeleton crew, what you got at the end product, I mean, kudos to them for getting on the field, but it was just a tough overall environment, I think, to go out there and be successful.
Elliot, looking back on everything that kind of went wrong, what did you think was the crux of why they couldn't get anything going?
Yeah, I mean, injuries, I think, played into it. From a scheme standpoint, I mean, I don't know if they've officially, listed what all coaches were out for the course of the game, but I think, offensively, just not getting anything going. And I think the play calling is a piece of that, just because you don't have a full staff. And so it's, in terms of looking at tendencies and having the playbook ready and just being accustomed to making those kind of tough decisions, I think that was tough. And then defensively, I think we just kind of, in one-on-one situations didn't really win the way that we typically do.
What did you think of Jacob Zeno coming in? Charlie obviously was banged up, struggled, and he's since transferred. So the end of Charlie Brewer's career and the little bit we got to see of Jacob Zeno this season. Your thoughts?
Hold on.
So we are not talking to Elliot Coffey at the moment.
We will be in a minute. We will be in a minute. For those interested, again, Mo Porter, former Baylor offensive lineman, we had him on when he took the job up in Mesquite earlier this year. Phil Bennett at 5 and Blake Blackmar on his thoughts on the memory of the career of Charlie Brewer from when he saw him walk on campus as a young freshman from Lake Travis. Back to Elliot. Craig, go ahead and ask that again.
Yeah, Elliot, just your thoughts on Charlie's career coming to a close and what you saw from Jacob Zeno on Saturday.
Yeah, so with Charlie, that's not how you wanted it to end. I think that's the easiest way to put it. One of the Baylor greats, a guy that, did so much, was a warrior, was a scrappy guy, went out there and won a ton of games. To think about the 2018 Texas Bowl. Just what Charlie did for the program, I don't think can be overstated. Now, you mentioned Zeno coming in. I think, at that point of the season, Charlie hadn't had things played out the way that he wanted to. The team hasn't had things play out the way they wanted to. And so seeing Zeno, I think, was a little bit of fresh blood. I think fans got excited. I mean, you guys heard the ovation when he stepped on the field. And so, you never want that to be how he's brought on. You want it to be in a new season where he's the guy. But, just thanks to Charlie for everything he did. I think probably had as hard of a run as anybody on that team. I feel like a lot of the blame for other issues that were going on across the program really kind of got pinned on his shoulders. And so tough way for him to go out for sure, but, definitely appreciative of everything he did.
Do you feel like that he took the heat for 2 or 3 reasons? One, the production. 2, he also made some bad decisions, which he knows more than anybody. But
right.
and trying to fit a square into a circle, but also because there was just this thirst for anyone else in the way perhaps the fans, or at least a portion of the fans, kept having, make a move. And he's the one that took the brunt of that rather than the coaching staff?
Yeah, no, so I feel like the Charlie situation was kind of like when COVID first came out, everybody started buying toilet paper. They were freaking out, and they didn't really know what they were freaking out about, and so we had to gather something that we could get a hold to, and Charlie was just that person or that thing that everybody kind of pointed the finger at. When in reality, there were other issues, particularly that offensive line. But you just mentioned the Zoom and having no off season, but really, I think it all got pinned on Charlie. Yeah, easiest target.
Elliot Coffey, former Baylor linebacker, also a part of the pregame show with Baylor football on SicEm365 Radio.
If you're Dave Aranda, how do you go about, I don't want to say rebuilding, but we're kind of rebooting this team in the spring?
I think you got to spend time with these guys. I think that's probably what's missing. I feel like, at least from the outside looking in, it's very difficult to come into a culture like Baylor where, Coach Rule was so beloved, was a rah-rah, charismatic kind of head coach, and without, the time to travel around the state of Texas to meet fans, and without the one-on-one opportunities to sit down, look players in the face and really spend that time with them, it's just tough to connect. Football isn't like corporate America where you can handle things over Zoom and essentially operate at the same level. This is a very relational, face-to-face, in-person business. And I think the biggest thing that we're going to have to do is it's just time. I think it's time that you get. I think it's face-to-face. I think it's building genuine relationships. And the only way you can do that is being with these guys.
Elliot, do you see the building blocks already for this defense to be pretty good moving forward? We're going to obviously have to see what Terrell Bernard does, but it seems like with all the guys that ended up having to play because of injuries, the transition was better than we expected to begin with. But just your thoughts on the bright future of this defense.
Yeah, we're bringing back the majority of the defensive line. I think watching Dylan Doyle develop, I think he was used to kind of more of a Big Ten style of football, and then seeing him develop into what he did over the course of the season, I think was probably one of the best stories across the defense. Now you look at a guy like Abram Smith as well, with Terrell Bernard being out. If there's one thing that you should be able to learn is how these guys collectively as a defense got stronger throughout the course of the season, and seeing a guy like Abram Smith come in from a running back position essentially to being one of the leading tackles. I think he was 55 tackles on the season, 5 tackles for losses, or 5.5 tackles for losses, 6.5 tackles for losses. And so really incredible numbers that he put up. And I think that's a testament to how they're being coached. And so it doesn't matter who we put in there. I'm confident that with this staff that they can get it done.
Elliot, thanks for your time, man. I do remember when you came over and you were just kind of trying to wrap your mind and head and arms and words around the disaster from Saturday. Was there a sense you think of relief the season was over?
Yeah, and by the way, Smokey, thank you for being there for me. I do appreciate you. I needed you there, and you were there to support. But yeah, I think there is a relief that it's over, because this is a battle just getting on the field every week, and so I think everybody at this point just needs a little bit of rest, and so that's where they're be headed. Thank you, man. Get some yourself. Elliot Coffey, former Baylor linebacker, with us on SicEm365 Radio. It's 4:18. When we come back, we've had a lot of former players, and we will have more. Blake Blackmar, 5:30, on his thoughts when he remembered this freshman kid from Lake Travis coming in and what he saw with Charlie Brewer. John Lovett, if you missed earlier in the show, has announced he's leaving as well. I think in the end, barring something that changes, there might be a lot less than you think when it comes to scatter. And there's still going to be some decisions made, but perhaps it's not quite as many as we at least could have thought about entering the weekend that was before the loss to Oklahoma State on Saturday. Well, big ones will be Treston Ebner, whatever he decides to do. I think even guys because look, here's the deal. Everybody's free. Yeah. Everybody's free. So, and free to come to Baylor too. And free to come to, this is not one of those you can transfer and then you still have to sit out a year. This is basically anybody can do what they want, and you have an extra year in tow with you. So you really have to look at just about everybody. I don't think it'll be as dramatic, big time players moving from Georgia to Clemson or anything like that. But
you do wonder about Ebner and, even, like an RJ Sneed or somebody like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you just look at
Tyquan Thornton.
Tyquan Thornton's another one. You look at those types of guys and you go, okay, are they in or are they out? And then that's going to tell us a lot.
I also look at guys from farther away. This year has been such a strain on people emotionally. Like, do you want to go closer to home?
If you're at the University of Washington, let's use it. No one's told me this, and I don't. It's
JV on Sunday.
If I just brought I'm only bringing his name up because of where he's at. And, of course, they're dealing with it. They're not going to play in the Pac-12 championship game. They have no offensive linemen to be able to play. Let's just say that's a long way. He loves it there. There's no question. But who knows? Maybe all of a sudden he wants to play in Texas. No one's told me that. Shane Anderson, Javion, no one's told me that. But that's an example of what like if you've been 1,300 miles away and you're playing at a school in Florida, yeah, it's a great place to be, but maybe you want to get back closer to home for the spring, or at least for the spring semester.
Yeah, I don't know. I think with Javion, you're using him as an example.
I'm not using his name because I know anything. I'm using it because he's in Washington, the state of Washington, where he couldn't wait to has enjoyed the semester. I know that. But I'm using him as an example of somebody that's from Texas that's 13, 15, 2,000 miles away.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think he wanted to get 2,000 miles away, so he's a guy that I don't think will be coming back home soon. But no, there's going to be a lot of guys like that for sure.
And Oregon's going to play Southern Cal, who had an amazing last minute and a half, 2 minutes, 3 minutes with UCLA to stay undefeated to go 5-0. When we come back, Mo Porter on the loss of teammate. Man, the emotions that poured out on social media and continue to do so. Phil Bennett will have his at 5 with us. Mo Porter on Chance Was next on SicEm365 Radio. Waco Custom Marketplace. You're trying to do what you need to do when it gets ready to what you're going to have for Christmas, the holidays, or even maybe on occasion. There's just a small group that may come over. The days of having your house and Christmas parties and things like that. Perhaps, well, for some that might go on, and for most probably not. But if you're interested in various gift boxes, Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, they've set you up for this. There are gift boxes with 4 ribeye steaks or 4 bacon wrap fillets or 4 New York strips. And they range in various prices, $70, $50, $55. Also, a steak and lobster box with lobster tails, 2 lobster tails, bacon wrap beef fillets for $60. The holiday gift box with ribeyes, bacon wrap, and New York strips, $75. And there's also the gift box, which is pretty cool because the gift box includes sauces, summer sausage, also horn, cheese, and crackers. Just something simple for you to have as a snack around the house during the holidays. If you want bone-in rib roast or boneless rib roast, you can get them ordered. Of course, choice is fantastic. They have the selection of select beef as well, anywhere from $11.55 a pound to $21.35 a pound, boneless or bone-in, depends on which one. Tenderloins, trim tenderloins. Also, hams and turkeys, a variety of different kinds and taste. It's Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs, too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel & Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel & Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel & Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
MP Electric has developed a quality-oriented electrical contracting service in more than 20 years in the industry. Led by President Mark Perry, our electricians go through a 5-year apprenticeship program, are licensed by the state of Texas, and getting continuous education annually upon renewal. In great part, the success of MP Electric lies with its management and professional expertise of its employees. All of our employees share a dedication to quality and commitment to serving the needs of our customers. For new construction and remodels, parking lot, lighting and surge protection, landscape lights, security lights, troubleshooting and repairs. For industrial manufacturing, food and beverage, paper and publishing, heavy industry, cement and rock crushing plants, water distribution plants, and utilities. For 20 years, MP Electric has serviced industrial, commercial, and residential products. We do service right. MP Electric Inc. at 1890 Galaxy Road, Waco. MPElectricUSA.com.
Car has the trucks, man. They have the one for you. Crew cab, short or long bed, silver, black or blue. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, he has the truck for you. Carr has the trucks, man. He has the truck you need. If you want the best truck, you want a GMC. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, they have the truck for you.
If you or a loved one or friend has been arrested and you can't afford bail, trust Terry and Chase Chapman at Chapman's Bail Bonds, covering Waco and McLennan County for over 25 years. Chapman's can bail you out anywhere with experienced, knowledgeable local agents who are committed to serving you professionally, respectfully, and with the highest integrity. Chapman's understands your privacy is important. Your freedom can be secured fast when you use Chapman's Bail Bonds. Open 24 hours a day. Payment arrangements available. Call Chapman's Bail Bonds. When you need help, 254-754-1603. When you ring, we'll spring.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio.
The Sic'em365 Radio app is sponsored by Alan Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat in Waco. Your friend in the car business at Loop 340 and east of 84. Come by. Let's be friends.
There have been so many stories that have happened in college football. Some of them, when you look at personnel, we've mentioned Charlie Brewer, now John Levitt, they're on their way out, and there'll be incoming classes and signing. And it's about their coaches getting hired and fired left and right. But yesterday, a reality that punched everybody that knows anything about Baylor football, former players, coaches, fans, and even those who covered. When the note came down, the word started filtering around that Chance Waz had passed away. And you saw teammates, Taylor Young, many of them reaching out and with their emotions. And Mo Porter, one of them that knows Chance Waz very well, he joins us on SicEm365 Radio. We've had you for good reasons because of the fact you had the new job. But this one here, Mo, we appreciate your time. Can you try to tell everybody who may not have known Chance Waz what kind of a young man he was?
How you doing? Chance, me and Chance were good friends back at Baylor. Chance was a really good guy. You know, Chance was a guy that smiled, lit up a room. Chance was a guy with high energy all the time. Chance was a guy that always tried to stay positive in every situation. He always a high confidence type of guy. He always just wanted us to be the best we can be. And he wanted you, if you was cool with Chance, he wanted you to know that you could be the best person you can be. And Chance was a guy that's going to always tell you how much you meant to him in his life. So that's why everybody just it hit everybody rough right now, because everybody know the type of person Chance is. And to hear what happened to him, it just crushed us in a lot of ways.
Mo, this year I think has shed a light for a lot of people around the world on mental health and how important it was. But I saw a tweet from you that you just talked to him a couple days, and it just shows to maybe how you don't know what's going on with people now.
Because Chance, he hid it very well. Like me personally, when I talked to him, I thought everything was okay. Like I sensed something was wrong. That's why I feel like I failed him, but he didn't show any signs. But I felt like he didn't sound like the same Chance that I was always used to talking to. I just felt like something was off, and I feel bad because I chose to go to work instead of staying on the phone with a friend that was in need. And I got some bad news yesterday, so it's been eating me alive, honestly. Because I feel like if I had to stay and just was late a couple minutes to work, that my conversation probably could have helped him pull through.
Mo, just when you first received the news, was it kind of an unbelievable thing? And what's the conversation been like with you and some of your former teammates? Because I know a lot of you guys, Smokey mentioned you, Taylor Young, several have gone online to talk about Chance. Just what's kind of the conversation been like amongst your former teammates?
The conversation is like, we just got to get back together. We built a brotherhood with each other going around, at Baylor, like it's a real life brotherhood. We feel like we all let Chance down. We all feel like we didn't do Chance the justice that he needed. We all felt like everything was just okay. And that just kind of brought us closer together. Unfortunately, it had to be this to happen. It always got to be death that brings people together, but it had to happen. And, man, it just hurts us all because we all, like I said, we all know what type of guy Chance was. Chance was a true stand-up guy. I never thought something like this would happen to him. And it just brought us all together. And, I'm hearing from people that I haven't heard from in years. Everybody just reaching out to each other, understand that we all here for each other no matter what. And it goes to show, like, what we built really meant something. And now we need to really start, holding ourselves accountable and standing by what we said. If we see a brother in need, help a brother in need, we all shed blood, sweat, and tears with each other, for 4 to 5 years, or granted however long he was there. And it's just a forever brotherhood, fraternity that we just got to start taking it more serious.
You mentioned earlier that you had recognized it was something that wasn't quite right, but then you didn't quite understand that. Don't beat yourself up, Mo. It happens. I mean, it's happened. Every family in America, in some way, whether immediate family or peripheral family, has dealt with something like this, and that's why it's such a big subject to discuss, and it's something that sometimes. Remember when Dak Prescott mentioned that, and then a couple of people criticized him for talking about how he has had some issues with mental health, and it's something that is very, very serious. So please don't beat yourself up. Do you have a favorite? And it might be 20 of them, but do you have a kind of a favorite Chance Was memory or story?
I mean, it's hard to just point out one favorite one, but I do have a lot of them. I mean, I just miss the countless moments, just locker room. Just the type of person he was in the locker room, just being funny, just being the guy that he truly is. It never was a dull moment. You never knew what was going to come out of his mouth. You never knew what he was about to do. You knew it was always going to be a show. He always wanted the attention on him. Like I can't just pick out one memory because, like you said, there's plenty of them. But the best thing I can remember of him, just the last thing I can remember was me and him talking before the conversation we had. We both just told each other how much how much we really rock with each other, how much we've been down for each other since the first day we met. And those are the memories I basically got. The best memories I got from him is the memories of us just telling each other how much we really, truly mess with each other.
It's kind of hard to follow it up right there, huh? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a sad deal, man.
Mo, thank you very much, buddy. Appreciate your time. And I know you guys just wrapped up your football season. Hope everything went well. Tell Verkedrick, I know Verkedrick was hit with this.
Verkedrick, I love Verkedrick. And he actually made the comment last night about that he felt like a calling or something along those lines to try and be that bridge for players once football's over with, that hard transition. And Mo, you know all about that, right? That transition when you've been playing football your whole life and all of a sudden it's not there. And I know you found a way to get back in, but Verkedrick was talking about, being kind of that voice for former athletes and helping them transition. And I know that was apparently part of what Chance was dealing with. But hey, man, as Smokey said, don't beat yourself up. You were a great friend, and it's really sad. And I feel for you guys. I really do. I'm so sorry y'all are having to go through this.
Yeah, man, it's sad, but we all pulling together, man. It goes to show you, like, you don't never know how many people you impact to the day you're gone, and everybody come out and tell the story that you happen to impact their life in a positive way. So, it's sad for us, but only thing we can do is wrap our arms around his family and make sure they understand how much Chance was loved and how much support they got coming from the Baylor family.
Yeah. Hey, Mo, perfect. Thank you very much. Appreciate you jumping on during such a difficult time. Thanks for your time. Good luck. That's Mo Porter, former Baylor offensive lineman. Now at West Mesquite, and with Coach Sandoval, Verkedrick Bonds, and Mo Porter on the life of Chance Was. It ended way too soon.
I saw that from Verkedrick, and I'm like, dude, that would be perfect for you. Like, I think that would be great. And I know there are some people that have those types of roles, I think. But, yeah, I think that would be great because it is – think about this, guys. You're a star football player all your life, pretty much for a majority of these guys. You go to high school, you get an offer to go play college football for free at a Big 12 school or wherever it may be. And then you go and you play, and you maybe in some cases receive accolades or whatever. You win some games, you lose some games, you move on. And then, most everybody has dreams of playing pro football and feel like that's going to be the end goal. And the reality is that there's such a small percentage of those guys that actually make it. So that's not something that really dawns on a lot of guys until all of a sudden football really isn't there, and those opportunities aren't there any longer, and the NFL is not going to happen. Or maybe it's happening, but it's one of those where you've been cut 4 times. And eventually the end comes. And when you're not that football player anymore, like there's a large vacancy in your life all of a sudden, and people aren't recognizing you, and they're not asking you for autographs, and they're not buying you drinks and all those different things necessarily the way they were when you were an active player. And it's just hard, man, having that structure just ripped away, you know?
You know what it reminds me of? Military personnel. They have been in a regiment. They have been in a routine. And even my father, who was never on the front lines, ever, spent 35 plus years in the military, was in Vietnam, but not like Paul, your father, who was there in the middle of it. But when he retired and he tried to get into some things like selling insurance, which was a bad mix, it didn't do very well with it, did really poorly with it. Man, it's kind of like that transition from being military into what is a normal life, or being just someone else that has not been structured or told where they're going to be.
Look, it's funny you mentioned my dad. Today's his birthday, actually, but he had a hard time retiring. Just retiring from his job that he really loved a lot, and taking passion away, or like when you can't do what you did. Now, we never understood it because it meant that like all the fun stuff he could do with his job, he could just do it all the time and not have to sell things anymore. But it was all that. It was just that because he was such a people person, and now it wasn't, he wasn't getting to do what he did normally. And, look, Tristan Clark is going to school now. He's focusing his efforts on sports psychology. And part of it is dealing with this transition from being a big time athlete to just being a person who's got a job. And it's hard. I know players, throughout the time that have dealt with it, and it's hard. They kind of especially at the end of their college careers, when they realize that the NFL's not calling that.
Coaches who retire, right?
Yeah.
Remember Bear Bryant?
Yeah.
I mean, he was older, but there are some that say the day I stopped coaching, he died. I mean, I think is miserable.
Well,
Joe Paterno, even though he was under stress at the time.
And a lot of these players too, because we see so many players that come from, bad backgrounds or backgrounds of poverty or whatever, and it's kind of like because they're the star football player, they're going to be the ones that save the family and make everything okay. And some guys do get to do that. And we see those great videos of a first-round pick buying his mom a new car, and everybody has those types of dreams, but only so few can actually do it. And not to say that this is all football related. Obviously, Chance had whatever he had going on. His friends would know better, but just true tragedy. It really is. I mean, just to be that young and to feel like that was, just to feel, I guess, down enough. I feel so terrible for his family. I really, really do. And I feel terrible for Mo and all his former teammates. They're beating themselves up, and it's not their fault. We all have this thing of like, oh gosh, once something happens, we react to say, oh, I should have done this. And hindsight's 20/20, but he's actively talking to guys a couple days before. I mean, a bunch of guys commented they had been talking to him, and you just never know, man. You never know what people are going through.
And Phil Bennett reached out to me about 30, 40 minutes ago. He's going to be with us at 5, and today has been so many moving parts, including trying to set up the show to give you perspective from former players on many things, whether it's the team, the season, the transfer portal, Charlie Brewer's career, and leaving Blake Blackmar at 5:30. Phil Bennett, will have him on to discuss what he saw. And then also the fact he's part of that group, that coaching staff that recruited Chance Wallace to Baylor, and I'm sure that's going to be tough to hear what he has to say as well. All right, a couple of other notes. We mentioned this earlier. The game, the Class 1A division, is it Division 1? The Division II game, the Class 1A Division II high school championship game has been postponed. They have until January 16th to play the game. I don't know if they'll play it in a week and a half or in maybe January 6th. Those are just a make-it-up time. But that game will not be played 11 o'clock kick at AT&T Stadium on Wednesday, so there'll be 2 games that day. And then one of them, the nightcap, will be Mart going for their 4th consecutive state title. And I wrote this down. We got a couple of minutes. I know we also don't have too much time. But Lake Travis, the record of 5 in a row from 2007 to 2011. I saw them on 2 or 3 occasions. In fact, they beat Midway to win their 5th consecutive title with Baker Mayfield. Some of the other games, other couple of years, it was Garrett Gilbert. They won it 5 years in a row. Sealy, with was it Toby Mills, the head coach, won it 94 to 97, 4 in a row. Salina, 98 to 01, 4 in a row. Fort Hancock won 4 in a row, 88 to 91. Also, a note about Mart. If they win Wednesday night, they'll join that group of only 4 right now. There are the following teams have won 3 in a row. I'm not going to go through everybody, but there are teams from our area. Bremont with Rashad Paul, Jeff Kozlowski, 14, 15, 16. Yo had 3 in a row. And that was 12, 13, and 14. Of course, they were winning and about to win 4 in a row, and Trayon Smith tore his knee. Old Waco High in the late 20s won 3 in a row. And then, of course, Mart has won 3 in a row. So there's a little bit of a nice connection to Central Texas and Mart trying to separate themselves while winning 4 straight on Wednesday night.
And one note you mentioned during the break, we've got a former Connolly standout on the move.
Yeah, go ahead. Former Connolly defensive lineman. He was both ways. He was great on each side of the ball, offense and defensive line. But Trent Pullen?
Yeah, Trent Pullen of Connolly, who signed with Oklahoma State last year. He was a part of that 3-man, Connolly, Oklahoma, or was it 2-man? I know it was him and Corey Black.
Yeah.
But I can't remember if there was I think it was just maybe those 2 guys who signed with Oklahoma State because Javion went to Washington. But, yeah, Trent Pullen, lineman, is in the transfer portal after just 1 year in Stillwater. So I don't know, how he would be broken down by the Baylor staff and all that, but we're talking about guys that may want to get closer to home. Well,
there you go.
Team that needs linemen. Hey, Dave Aranda and company, you might want to pop some tape with Trent Pullen at Connolly on and see if maybe you got a new player you want to add. I don't know. I don't know if he would be of interest to them, but that's the guy you'd want to take a look at. He's from Connolly, and he's just a freshman, so.
All right, coming up next, we'll have the high school football players of the week. Look at the entire state week from 4A down to 2A or 1A, and then also the 5As and 6As. I spoke with Mike Spradlin earlier today. He's now at Rockwall Heath. They'll play Temple. He was the head coach at Temple before he became the AD at Magnolia, and that gave Scott Stewart the opportunity, who's done a great job at Temple. Temple ripped Waxahachie in the first round 38-0. We'll have Mike Spradlin with us tomorrow to discuss Rockwall Heath and their game coming up with the team he used to coach in Temple. This is SicEm365 Radio. Ideal MRI. I got notes. I got all sorts of things. I don't need them when it comes to talking about the business that is located in the Central Texas marketplace and the title sponsor of this show. Dr. Rob Maxey, his staff, IdealMRI.com. Here's what they do. They find out why you hurt so much, whether it's a muscle, a bone, or a ligament. They find out why, in fact, it's more than just something that's annoying. It's something where you can't sleep well, something that is hurting you. You're taking pills because the pain's so bad. And you're going to your doctor, and the doctor said, man, you might have something. We got to get you an MRI. Ask them about Ideal MRI because they can save you hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. The average MRI can be about $1,100, the average. Ideal MRI can do you an MRI and get it done for $497 or less every single time. They'll also help you if you need with the insurance. Payment plans. But $497, I remember once when I went in for an MRI and I had to pay like $1,700 up. I'm not kidding. It was over $1,500, might have been $2,000. It stopped me in my tracks, but I had to get it done and it was too late. Man, I wish I would have known then about Ideal MRI. In the Central Texas marketplace, and the experience is very comfortable. It's easy to get online or call them or set up the appointment, walk in, check in, get your things done, and then sit down and visit with the Texan specialist. They'll take you through what's going to happen when your body, you know what? You get on that thing and it sends you into that tube. And for me, that was the easiest experience I've ever had, and I've had probably a half a dozen MRIs or more over my lifetime. 61 years old, that's going to happen on occasion. Then it was like just a couple of hours after I got off the show. I get a call from Dr. Maxey. Hey, here's what we see. Sent me a copy of it so I can send it to my doctor, David Haynes at Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Man, they can save you money. It's an easy situation, and it's so low maintenance, so smooth. idealmri.com.
Learning to navigate life in the COVID-19 world has been a struggle, and where and how to get tested has been one of the biggest challenges. Impact Health Labs has your answer. If you need mass testing for your office, church, dormitory, or school, Impact Health Labs is who to call. They will come to you, conduct the testing at your location, and have the test back within 24 hours. Most major insurance accepted, meaning your out-of-pocket cost is low. So no more waiting by the phone for days to find out the results. Impact Health Labs was founded by 3 Army radiologists. They believe in accuracy, efficiency, and doing the job right. Call 254-744-6233 to set up your group screening today. Impact Health Labs, on-site, prompt, and accurate, taking COVID-19 head-on. Again, that number is 254-744-6233.
Christmas time is Jeep time at Allen Samuels. It's the big finish event, and the world's most awarded SUV has 0%, no payments for 90 days, and employee pricing for all on select models. Save thousands on the rugged Renegade and new 2020 Grand Cherokees. Even new 2021 Jeep Cherokees are included. 0%, no payments for 90 days. Employee pricing for all. Happy holidays from Allen Samuels.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
At Baylor University, students can shine in their own way. Or should we say their own ways? Because there's no limit to the ways Baylor students make the world a brighter place. Whether they're leading a student organization or following a higher calling, getting advice from faculty, or taking part in world-class research, pursuing their dreams, or working toward their dream job, students find their place to shine at Baylor, where lights shine bright.
Bird Culchin Ford has been in Waco since 1936. Ford, the #1 selling truck in Texas, 43 years running. And Bird Culchin Ford proudly supports high school football in Central Texas. And no better way to tailgate with a Ford than from Bird Culchin Ford. And are there better vehicles to tailgate with than the Ford F-150 or the Ford Expedition? And of course, you can get them new pre-owned Bird Culchin Ford. Our sponsor of the Ford Tough Player of the Week, locally owned dealership. Online at bkford.com at 1701 West Loop 340 in Waco. Bird Culchin Ford.
Waco's newest gym, Halo Athletic Center, 5725 Bagby Avenue, right behind Region 12 and across the highway from the Central Texas Marketplace, where motivation, inspiration, and hard work are the driving force. State-of-the-art equipment, indoor and outdoor track, locker rooms, showers, yoga and bar classes by Duality Yoga, Bod Pod potty composition analysis, and registered dietitians, all under one roof, where we rise above. Come join the Halo Athletic Center and be a part of the change, your change.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio. The Central Texas Players of the Week is brought to you by Bird Culchin Ford.
All right, here we go. The SicEm365 Radio. By the way, Grayson Grunhafer's done a great job. He was all over Cameron Bonner. He's got National Signing Day stuff with Colt Bryan. And, of course, what we do here as well, we follow. Craig does a lot of the recruiting as well. But Grayson Grunhafer is really becoming a problem at Pick'em. I'm not so sure we don't need to find some NCAA violations with him. Something to kick him out of the playoffs.
I think he's got a bag, man, for sure.
I think he's got like a coach somewhere within the family. He's now just a game back.
Yeah, he jumped over me.
Yeah, he had an amazing week.
I'm focusing on next year. I'm going to let some of my guys, some of my guys.
You're going to start putting
the
more
freshmen.
reps.
Look, it's a 0 year, so I mean, no eligibility is going to get hurt.
Like Kim said, that it's an asterisk season.
I'm just going to throw the whole roster's coming out, so it's fine.
Yeah, I need to have I think everybody really, other than Grayson, had kind of average weeks at best. I mean, I think everybody had like 6 or 7 losses, which is not always typical, but this has not been a typical year.
See, you know what happened with Grayson is he got confident. Once he got confident, then he started even putting more effort into it.
Well, I should have ended that.
What we need to do is really, really take that away from him.
Well, before we shine him up too much, he needs to win because I don't want to waste time on somebody who finishes in second or third.
Because it could be like somebody that takes so much time to get there, and then you get close, and then you run out of gas. All right, I think there are only 2 teams left. Temple in 6A, because we know what 11 6A did to Shoemaker, Harker Heights, and Bryan. Temple's playing against Rockwall Heath. That's a second-round Division II 6A game. Friday at McLean Stadium, by the way. That'll be right here in our backyard. College Station, Denton Ryan. That's coming up on Friday. That's at Waco ISD. So a couple of the teams left. That's it. Think about it. That's it. When it comes to Central Texas in 5A and 6A, everyone else pretty much got knocked out pretty quickly. None of them were shocking. No one got upset. That's pretty much who was supposed to lose. They did. Now, how about the Texas School for the Deaf? And I reached out to their coach and invited somebody from the school to come on our show. They beat Veritas 63-32 to win the TAPS Division I 6-man football championship. And this is a great story. They were 11-man. They had to drop down. Their roster was so depleted, they decided to stay in 6-man in TAPS. And they won it all. Head coach John Moore told NBC everything was new. The rules were new. The fields were new. No longer 100 yards. We're changing down to 80 yards, so that changes the entire game. And they won the state title. And watching the video of those young men jumping up and down in excitement was incredible.
They bang a drum for the snap count, so that they feel the vibration. It's pretty cool what they do.
Very cool. Yeah, a lot of people can feel those vibrations. That's what the drum does. It calls the plays through vibration. It's an incredible story.
Yeah, congrats to them. That's awesome. And definitely having, everybody's got their hurdles, but they've got an extra hurdle they have to get through in comparison. And so that's really cool.
All right. Now, the players of the week in Central Texas, and it was a very limited number because they're really – well, Temple and Mart were the only teams that won. Riker was beaten. Crawford was beaten. And, Franklin won, too, and they're in the Defensive Player of the Week category today. But the Offensive Player of the Week, Rodrell Freeman. We have never mentioned his name.
Always mention his name. 22
carries, 135 yards, 3 touchdowns. Rushing, 7 of 8 passing for 211 yards, 3 touchdowns. All of them Detrayan Medlock, who had 3 touchdowns, 157 yards. But Rodrell is the Offensive Player of the Week. Nice little dual-threat game from Arismendi, the quarterback at Temple. Had 119 yards rushing, 109 yards passing, 2 scores, and they drilled Waxahachie. Defensive Player of the Week, Temple's Marshall Grays had a 26-yard interception for a touchdown, had a 4th down sack on 4th and goal, and also on 4th down sack, and on 4th and goal, had a tackle for a loss in the shutout win against Waxahachie. And Temple kicker Aaron Wagaman was the Special Teams Player of the Week. 3 for 3 extra points, but kicked field goals of 34, 44, and 45 yards in the win against Waxahachie. So those are our Players of the Week in Central Texas. And the other high school note, we mentioned it earlier in the show because it's like the number 2 story on ESPN.com. It's trending on Twitter. Was a story that I got from the superintendent, Jason McCullough, on Art Brow's leaving Mount Vernon after 2 years in a semifinal run that was beaten by Tuscola Jim Ned, 24-17 in the semifinals this past weekend at Globe Life Park. All right? Anything else?
Nope.
Coming up. And by the way, Armstrong Sims, I have not mentioned your name today.
Guess what, Armstrong? Hold on, Armstrong, do it. Put yourself on camera.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
We have some new stuff going on. as far as graphics go. So
I noticed that shot right there.
Yeah, this shot right there.
I like that one a lot.
Wait a minute, where's
The
that
camera, the camera's
Camera's
right.
on the ping pong
Camera's
table
back
over
there. I don't know if you
The
can
red
see.
light.
And we did a little
The red light back
We did a
there.
little furniture rearranging late on Saturday when everyone was, I think, toasted, and it looks good. It's given us a lot more space. Brian Etheridge called me on the phone. He was on his way back to Dallas, and we moved a couple of things. It was very well done. Now, if somebody would just empty the trash on the weekends, it would be great. And I think that was Armstrong's job, based on what I heard from my boss.
No. That's not my job. No, it was late at night, and it was getting sketchy outside.
This camera.
We didn't want to go.
We're going to have to put some of that. You're going to have to damp that down a little bit. It's too bright.
Yeah, I need to work on it.
Yeah.
No, just a little bit, but it looks great.
Or, here's the thing.
Yeah,
He could
for sure.
start wearing some like foundation or something.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
don't do that.
I need to put makeup on because I'm on camera now.
Don't ever do that. Don't ever do that. I've said that because of my forehead, which even glows now. I had to use that little powder, and it was the worst stuff because it just got on everything, No,
I'm not going to.
There are television people that I know, either women or men, who have been in television or are in television, and they put that makeup cake on, and I mean, it gets all into your collar.
Hey, I used to do a show with Vince Erickson, and occasionally, I would, and we would do the morning show, but sometimes he would have to go in and like shoot something in the morning. So he would come in, he wouldn't be wearing his like suit or anything, but he'd be wearing like his clothes, just casual clothes. But I'd look over and be like, "Are you wearing?" Because yeah, I'm gonna do a live shot after we're done. And he's just sitting there looking at a guy and like wearing makeup. It was odd for me.
Yeah, it was strange. It was the worst thing though, because you take your shirt off. If you had a button-down shirt, you could, but you couldn't keep that off of what you wore. Whether it's a blue collar shirt, white, whatever it was kind of miserable. And at times I didn't do it, and then my news director would call. How come you don't have? You're shining. You're like a satellite launching from Tyler, or in the case now would be Waco. All right, when we come back, Phil Bennett on many things, how Baylor ended the year, and also on the decisions by Charlie Brewer, John Lovett, his thoughts. We know what he thinks about the transfer portal. We know what he says. He's talked about that. But also on Chance Was and when they recruited him to come to Baylor and what he remembers about the young man who passed away on Sunday. This is SicEm365 Radio.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has a great deal going on for Christmas. They have their own exclusive bottle from Balcones, the Christmas special that you can order, and it's their own barrel of whiskey, their own. You can only get it at Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Waco Drive, Lakeshore Drive in North 9th Street, here in Waco. And you can go online and give them a call, find out how to reserve your bottle, or go in and get the Christmas special. It's a 5-year-old single malt whiskey from Balcones and the Waco Whiskey Club, exclusively at Riverbend Liquor and Wine, plus great selection of wine, other spirits, craft beer like you would not believe. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram, or use their great drive-through window if you want to go through and get something quick if you're off somewhere or on your way home. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street here in Waco. Find out more, Facebook and Instagram.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Born in Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. For 2.5 years, they've been bringing high-quality beer to Central Texas at their location on Bridge Street in East Waco. And this football season, you need to stop by on game day for curbside pickup or stop by their tent next to SicEm365 at Brazos Parking for your pregame refreshment. Brotherwell Brewing believes in community and bringing people together to enjoy products made in their community. So for your game day, whether it's a tailgate or at home, stop by Brotherwell Brewing for high-quality craft beer made right here in Central Texas, 400 East Bridge Street, and check them out online at brotherwell.com.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of health care while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of health care has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries. Celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas, our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Come see us at the new Baylor Scott and White Ted and Sue Getterman Sports and Orthopedic Center. Trusted doctors at Baylor Trust, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio.
The 5 o'clock hour is brought to you by Edward Jones and financial advisor Cam Heathcott. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Purdy escapes, throws downfield. With it. Their best cover corner has a broken thumb.
This segment with former Baylor defensive coordinator Phil Bennett is sponsored by the Nitchie Group Insurance Company, where clients are more than just a policy number. See why thousands of Texans trust the Nitchie Group with their home, auto, benefits, and commercial insurance coverage. Call their Waco office to speak with an expert at 254-420-3900 or visit them online at tngins.com. Now, here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, here we go. This 5 o'clock hour. Phil Bennett with us on Mondays at 5 o'clock. It is Radio Gold, and we appreciate his time. And unfortunately, today, part of it is a very difficult part. We have Mo Porter on, Elliot Coffey, some that were teammates, some that were not. Phil, the loss of Chance was and how that hit you, and then kind of how the recruitment of him started and how that went, and any stories surrounding him.
You know, it's been a day of reflection all day for me. I talked to his father last night. I'd been out of town. I got back into town, and one of the former players had left me a message, and so I immediately called Chance's dad, and he confirmed it. You know, David, we all think we're going to live forever, and it's been heartbreaking. He's a young man, 24, 25 years old, and, you know, trying to find his way after college like a lot of us have and will. And, you know, he was a kid that we recruited out of Pflugerville. I was talking to Chris Acuff today, and we were talking about how we went and watched him practice, and, you know, he was a smart player. He was a good player. You know, he was a good fit for what we were doing at Baylor. His dad asked me, he said, if you had to say one thing about Chance, what would it be? I said, he's always had a good heart. He was a good-hearted kid. You couldn't stay mad at him very long. He had those eyes that were, I called him puppy dog eyes, that you would be wanting to chew his butt out, and he'd be looking at you, and I'd tell him, "Stop! Turn your face away from me."
I love that.
And he was a beautiful kid, and just sort of went through a rough patch, and it's just unfortunately it's sad. And I told some of the players I talked to today that were teammates of him, I said, I can't help but believe in my older age that there's lessons that we can learn from tragedies like this. And especially guys at that age that think when they don't get what they need or what they have is not good enough. There's so many thankful things to be thankful for, and just to realize, what God's given you, and just be thankful for the blessings that you have. And, the last time I talked to Chance was actually on Facebook. He says, "Happy birthday, old man." And I texted him back. I said, "Old man." And he goes, "I know you could still roll." And I looked at it last night. I was showing my wife this, and I told his dad that. And just a hard time for a lot of people. And I know he was admired and loved, not only by the coaches, but all of his teammates.
Yeah, Mo Porter said as much, said that he was just as vibrant and happy and kept everybody loose and focused at the same time in the locker room, and really a motivator for his friends and teammates.
I think that's exactly right.
Phil, I don't know what all was going on with Chance, but I do know for former players, when football's suddenly taken from them, it's really hard. And as you mentioned, just the transition for anybody coming out of college into the real world. But, I mean, I'm sure you've seen thousands of tales of guys that just don't know what to do once the football dream is kind of over with. I mean, how hard is that? And what is your advice, I guess, or is there a better way for guys to transition away from the game and getting back into the real world?
I can remember one time talking to Wes Jerry, and we were talking. He said, "Phil, what are some of the things that as coaches that you deal with that you really don't think there's been enough said or done about it?" And that was exactly, Craig, that was exactly what we were talking about. Is so many times, when your day is scheduled. I mean, you guys know what these athletes go through. Mm-hmm. I mean, everybody says, "Well, boy, they get treated like a king." Trust me, these guys, it's easier to have a 40-hour-a-week job and go to college than it is to play athletics and go to college, especially football. And their schedule, their time, I mean, until 10 o'clock at night, their day is planned for them. From 6 a.m. to 10, their day is planned. And a lot of times when that comes to an end, the highs, the lows, the excitement, the anticipation, it's problems. And a lot of them have issues, of reinventing themselves, and everybody thinks, Dave, you and I have talked about many times. Everybody thinks, hell, I thought when I left A&M, I thought I was the next, Sam Huff. I was going to be an all-pro linebacker. Didn't work out. And there's so many things, and then you evolve. You've got to find other things to transition. And I think without question, if there's a place, if somebody wanted to help these athletes in athletic departments, they would have someone, and I don't mean, I mean a guy that's been there that could help these guys say, "Hey, you know what? What's next? Let's get you an idea of what's going on." And it is a problem. I know it is. I've seen it too many times.
I saw where Verkedrick Vaughns, who I love that young man, he commented last night. I know he's been trying to kind of figure out things, been training, doing things like that, but he mentioned last night in regards to Chance that he felt the need to be kind of that voice. And so I sent him a text earlier or tweet earlier, and I'm going to encourage him to do that because I think there is a role for that, like you said.
Well, and I tell you, Chance and I, since I've been gone, I mean, I talked to him a lot the year I was at Arizona State. I mean, I took I coached him hard, but he knew I cared about him. And, he wanted to coach. He said, Coach, I want to coach. I want to, I think that's my next avenue. He was doing some training and just couldn't latch on. And he was a bright young man. I mean, good in school, graduated. And some people say, well, they got a college degree, but it goes back to that, the high of being the athlete and competing at the highest level. Kaz Kazadi called me last night, totally broke down. And he said, Coach, I just, I feel like I could have done more. And sometimes they want to present a picture for you, and they do it with their mother and their father. I mean, his dad was, I'm just telling you, I just sit there and I listen. I listened to his dad. Of course, unfortunately, I've been involved with a unexpected death, and it is not something that you wish upon anybody. And I've always said many times, the only thing worse than losing a wife would be losing one of your children. And I listened to TJ, and I just sat there and I just literally had an empty moment where I sat there, and I don't know if I've been that low in a long time.
This Phil Bennett segment brought to you by the Nitschke Group. We appreciate George Harmon and what they do to bring this segment to you on SicEm365 Radio. You were talking about the structure, the hours of being a student athlete, and I guess the transition, and thanks for a lot of your memories on Chance. But this football season for Baylor ended late Saturday. It did not end well. It was an absolute just ass-kicking that Oklahoma State gave them. And I know a lot of people are tired of the excuses, but can you imagine what you said about what athletes deal with, student athletes, and then on top of that, this kind of a year? Some teams have handled it and some teams have not. Your thoughts looking back at Baylor's year?
Trust me when I tell you this. Because I have a son that's going through it right now at Hawaii. And now, unfortunately for them, they inherited a more talented team than what Dave Aranda inherited. And I'm not saying that being belittling anybody. It's just a fact. And what these coaches have gone through and these players are, I don't know, it's been the craziest. Nobody in the world in my 4 years, I would never imagine what these guys have gone through. And I said this last week, and I mean it. Somebody told me, oh, they ought to get rid of this. No, this is truly a year that you don't grade them. I mean, his clock should start when spring training starts. I mean, it should be – I can only imagine what the kids and the coaches together when you really don't know anybody. I mean, this is, Joey was here, and I think maybe one other coach was kept. Is that correct?
Yeah, Sean Bell and David Wetzel as a liaison when it comes to the Texas high school coaches.
So you have three guys, and they're having to go on their this kid this kid does this is this history. It's just been an absolute nightmare. And to make any decisions on anything, I just, it was a hall pass without question for me. And I applaud the kids. You go to OU, you play well, and then you come back at the repeat game. And let's be quite honest. I mean, Oklahoma State, in my opinion, they had the back opt out or quit, whatever you want to call it. I call it quitting. And they sort of had something to prove. I could tell it from the get go. And we just didn't play, on either side of the ball, obviously with Larry and some of the other coaches on offense, and they put Justin in a tough role. And it was just a day to get by.
Did that game and what you saw and maybe where they were mentally remind you of any of the 6 games, the year when all hell broke loose for you in 2016?
Yeah, mine meant TCU. I've told 4 or 5 people that. We were all worried about, some of the kids were worried about wearing some black jerseys or BS like that. And I'll never forget, I told the defense, I said, we are in, if we don't get ourselves worrying about the right thing, we're in for an ass kicking. and it was very similar. I mean, couldn't make a play, couldn't make a tackle, offensively could barely, couldn't function. The game was never, it was out of balance very quick. And that's what happened Saturday. I mean, Baylor from the first scramble, I think the third play of the game, they run the jailbreak screen. They're in quarters coverage, and I know everybody looked at Tejada, thought he was the guy. The safety, if you look at it, comes out of coverage thinking the guy was scrambling. He should have been deep. And that's the way the game started. And it didn't get any better.
Phil Bennett, former Baylor defensive coordinator, with us on SicEm365 Radio.
Hey, Phil, what do you think about Charlie Brewer? John Lovett also announced that he's going to enter the transfer portal, but Charlie Brewer made that announcement yesterday. I don't think it's a huge surprise, and could this be a situation where for both parties it's just good to have kind of a fresh start?
As a coach, if I was losing Charlie Brewer, I'd be disappointed. I'd be looking for guys to get guys around him. For Charlie, for what I see that they've got coming back, and guys, let me tell you something. I mean, God bless him. He took a beating out there Saturday. I mean, he got hit. I know you guys watched it too, and I think with the situation, the criticism and the different things, I think it's good for him. And hopefully, eventually, it will be good for Baylor. But I just, and I think I've expressed it through the year, I'm a Charlie Brewer fan. And I just think he lost some weapons, the inconsistency of the guys, and I'm not blaming the coaches on the O-line because, some of it was talent, some of it was guys, the COVID, really no playmakers at wide receiver. We lost our, when our running game was getting better. I think at Iowa State we lost the kid who really showed some potential. Yeah. He really didn't have a lot of weapons around him.
Phil, you mentioned opting out and not like quitting, which it totally is. But all that, how would you?
Hey, let me just tell you that, Paul. When you don't work for anybody, you can pretty much say what you want. It's quitting.
But how would you, as a
I don't have to be politically correct.
Yeah. How would you, as a coach, want to see the transfer portal and all that organized and run? Because right now it's
a nightmare.
Chaos.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Well, I mean, NCAA has done no one any favors. I mean, your word used to be your bond. Your word now means nothing. I mean, if you're not exactly just feeling it, they're not giving me the love, I'll leave. And lo and behold, don't ever think that you're going to have to compete behind a guy that's a year older than you. Because hey, if a guy's a year older than you, I got to leave because I'm not going to play. I can remember playing at A&M. They had two great recruiting years, and I was the 18 middle linebacker. And I called my dad. I said, hell, I'm never going to get to play here, ever. And he said, well, what are you going to do? And I said, well, I'm going to try. He goes, well, you're not coming back here. He said, good luck to you. He said, make sure you can, he said, you can go work on the pipeline. And lo and behold, through attrition, before you know it, it happens. And the NCAA has done a disservice to every athlete, every college, every coach. I think they're totally mismanaged, and I am hoping like the Dickens. I saw the Knight report recommended for college football, or majority of college football, to separate from them, and I hope it happens. The faster, the better, because it is a nightmare right now created by them.
You played for Emory Bellard, right? I did. I would not have wanted to go walk in and look at him and tell him I was leaving.
You know what? I got in so much trouble my freshman and sophomore year, I was begging him to stay. A true statement. Of course, back in those days, College Station was a tougher town because you had all the oil. They had this curtain oil going on, and the bars were tough. And my sophomore year, I didn't get a letter because I liked the bars quite a bit, and I got in some trouble. And he said, "I'll tell you," he said, "I'll never forget this. We're fixing to play USC in a bowl game, and I was in the rotation." And he goes, "I'm tell you what I'm going to do." He said, "I'm not going to letter you this year." And I'm sitting there thinking, "Oh my God, I'm not even." I said, "Well, am I going to get you? Am I going to get to go to the bowl game?" And he goes, "Yeah." He said, "You're going to the bowl game." And he said, "You're going to have an agenda every day." I was the only guy that went to bed 9 o'clock every night.
Or making sure everybody else did. Yeah. That was your punishment. You need to go to all the various bars, but you can't have anything, but you need to make sure and report back to me who was there. That's what it was.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't going to be a snitch, but I will tell you this. They had me up we didn't have strength coaches back there. The trainer is the guy who did all the discipline. And Billy Pickard wore me out in Memphis, Tennessee.
Phil Bennett with us on SicEm365 Radio. Earlier today, Craig, go ahead.
Oh, I mean, you can ask the question.
Yeah, earlier today, I got a text, the release from Mount Vernon ISD that Coach Briles was leaving after 2 years, went to the semifinals, lost a heartbreaking game on, what was it, Friday to Jim Ned.
Friday, yeah.
The speculation is rampant. I sent a text to him. He just gave me the thumbs up. But do you feel like he's on the verge of possibly coaching in college? And secondly, if you don't mind me asking this question, Baylor is in front of the NCAA, in fact, today and tomorrow. And one of the things that they said, you were on that staff, and if you can't answer, that's fine, is lack of institutional control. Did you guys have a lack of institutional control?
Absolutely not. What we had was a lack of direction. We did not have Title IX on those issues that first of all, the NCAA is trying to pile on. I mean, this is their last stand. 4 years ago, it's the most ridiculous thing you've ever seen. Baylor doesn't deserve it. Art sure doesn't deserve it. But we had, it was an institutional problem that coaches should never be left to handle. That's why you have professionals. And Baylor had chose not to be involved in the Title IX program, which put every one of us, not just football, but every student, every athlete, every coach at risk. And that is the truth, and it's as honest as you can be.
Do you think he'll coach in college here next season?
I don't know. I think if he wants to, I saw him. I went to the game. It was you would have enjoyed it. I mean, we had 15 guys. We were on the sideline. It was Ahmad, Stu, Raycon, Oakman was there. It was really a good time. Spencer Durango. It was fun, and I want Art to do what he wants to do. I know him well, and we talked on our birthday, and I just know that he just wants to get his integrity back. He wants to people to understand that there's been horrible things said that are not true. That's why I look at this LSU situation, and ESPN is doing their thing, throwing things out there. You know what? If you look at John Eddy, people he hired, you saw how those numbers got multiplied, and that's sort of the way it is right now. Hey, you know what? The more negative we can be, the better. I just want Art to be happy in what he's doing. It's deserving. I know how hard he worked when he was at Baylor. I know this too, and I've said this. I was involved with it. Hey, we had the #1 graduation rate, 1 or 2 on the APR. You don't have players totally out of control culture-wise with those things happening. You just don't.
National Signing Day, Phil, is Wednesday. I remember when Andrew Billings committed to us on the radio that you guys almost all you gave up on him. You had talked to him before I think he walked into our studio. I think everyone collapsed when he actually said he was going to Baylor. Outside of that story, do you have a favorite National Signing Day story or some kind of drama that is one of your favorites?
one of the things that and this wasn't when I was at Baylor. It was when I was at SMU. We were recruiting Emmanuel Sanders. And if you remember at SMU, I had to have 1,000 3.0. And I mean this now. They would not they had a little committee that Mr. Hunt set up for me where we could, if we wanted a kid, and the committee was made up of the faculty. And Emmanuel, if you've ever seen him, is sharp. I mean, he's a sharp kid, sharp dress. Well, right before Emmanuel had come, there was a running back from Bishop Lick named Moats. And we had sent Moats in there, and he was a sharp kid, and he was 5'8", ended up playing in the NFL. And Moats comes out, and I mean it. It was like 20 minutes, and the lady who was supposed to be helping me gives me a thumbs up, and I'm thinking, oh, we got it. Well, it took them about 50 seconds. They declined. They just didn't think he was SMU people. So when Emmanuel goes in, I said, Emmanuel, I said, I just want to tell you, his grades, he was from Bellevue, his grades weren't great. I said, if you make this happen, I said, you're going to be the charmer of all charmers. And lo and behold, they accepted him. The next thing I thought about, I told Larry Edmondson, the guy recruiting him, I said, back then you could do this. I said, you go to Belleville and you don't leave there until Wednesday when he signs. He said, Coach, it's all good. It's all good. I said, don't, because every year we got rated by Kansas, Missouri, and Texas Tech. The last week in there. And I told Larry, I said, if you're not there, I'm going to fire you. And I'd never fired a coach. I said, because I'm just telling you, he's too good for us to get. And lo and behold, he calls me, and the head coach, his name was Hugh. I'll never forget this. I can't remember it. He calls me. He said, Coach, Texas is here. It was Friday afternoon, wanting Emmanuel to visit this weekend. And I said, Larry, all I said was, I said, if he visits, pack your locker. And he stayed there the whole week, and we got him.
Golly.
So did Larry find out what there was to do for a week in Belleville, Texas?
Yeah.
You know what he told me? He said, listen, the high school coach went to Emmanuel. He said, listen, I know that it's exciting that University of Texas wants you. He said, but you've made this, just what you should do. He said, you have made these people a commitment, and your word is your bond. And what a career he had. He loved it. He was such an asset to SMU, and still playing 10 years. And you know what's funny? I go to Pittsburgh after I get let go. He goes to Pittsburgh.
Huh.
And one day, the GM, Kevin Colbert, calls me. He goes, I want you to talk to Emmanuel. Said him and Brown, the other rookie, are down right now. Well, you know who it was? A.B. Brown. And he was the third round. So A.B., I called Emmanuel in. I said, you got to get your ass going. I said, these guys want, and the next game he catches like 7 balls, and it doesn't change. Even in the NFL, they need motivation. And he had a great career. But the last thing I'm going to tell you, that Moats kid went to Louisiana Tech.
Yep.
And this is the craziest thing. He was the best kid. He ran the stretch for about 180 yards on us that game. And every time he would run to the sideline, he would jump up and he'd look at me and he said, and we were playing at SMU, he said, Coach Bennett, I sure wish I could have been on this sideline. And I was just looking at him and said, shut up and go back. I said, fumble or something.
Yeah, you didn't wish it that much. Man, that's great stuff. Great stuff. Phil, thank you very much. Would you mind, based on obviously the holidays are coming up, heading with us at least to the championship playoff? Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I enjoy this.
Yeah,
it's
we
fun,
do too.
Y'all, and I want to thank you for bringing Chance up today. It's humbling for all of us what we're going through, and just all the kids that he played with and all the coaches. We're heartbroken, and we're just, we all know life is fragile, and what a year it's been. 2020 for whatever you want to call it, but he will always be strong in our memory.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate it very much for the memories and the thoughts and so many stories along the way. Phil Bennett, former Baylor defensive coordinator. Stories that we could have him on for 3 hours and need another 50.
Yeah.
With the backstories on recruiting and much more.
I'm surprised you didn't follow up on if Art does get a job, he's going to give his old buddy a call, come run his defense.
Yeah, that could be it. I just saw, by the way, Chance Waz's father, TJ. We just heard Phil Bennett mention him. He just put up a note about his son on Twitter as well. Coming up next.
That's so sad.
Yeah. Blake Blackmar, former Baylor offensive lineman. He's been a go-to guy for us. He and Brian Etheridge will have a cage match, barbecue off cookout, sometime, I think, in March.
March 3rd, I think, is the date that I saw.
Meet-a-thon, yes.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, the women's basketball tournament, Paul gave me this note over the weekend. They're going to play the entire NCAA tournament in San Antonio. It's going to be a great 4 weeks for you.
I appreciate you trying to raise my street cred.
Women play
with the women's basketball crowd.
Play Texas Tech.
They don't like
that
me.
That game is tonight.
Tonight, yeah, they're in action tonight.
They don't have Jaden Owens yet. She has not yet been cleared on that transfer note, but the NCAA is getting ready to vote on. But if, in fact, when they
everyone?
do.
It's just like everybody in their situation.
Yep.
So
it would have been Camaria McDaniel, but she tore her ACL. So that's coming up. The really interesting. So the men were going to play Texas, and Saturday that starts filtering down that game's been pushed back, right? Mm-hmm. And I saw a couple of things chatter from UT fans. The next day, the women at Texas had their game pushed back or postponed against Tennessee.
They were about to go on the floor.
Yes, and so it's everywhere. It's unfortunately, and I don't wish it on anybody, nobody. When we come back, Blake Blackmar tries to reflect back on what he saw with this young kid out of Lake Travis. He heard all about him. He comes into Baylor. Matt Rule, about to start his first year. What did Blake Blackmar see in his time when he was a teammate with Charlie Brewer? That's next on SicEm365 Radio.
If you're looking to buy a new home or looking to sell the one you're in, you need to call my good friend Lance Donaldson and the Donaldson family team, brokered by eXp Realty, 254-214-3713. Just give him a quick Google. Lance Donaldson, eXp Realty, or lancedonaldson.exprealty.com. And you can learn all about Lance. Lance is a fantastic guy. He's going to take you through the process, which is, can be kind of overwhelming. The first time I bought a house, it was a lot. I had to go through a lot. And you're going to look at a lot of houses. You want to be with someone who's going to take you to see cool houses. And it's not just going to take you to see houses for the sake of seeing houses. It's going to take you to see houses that fit what you want to do. And Lance is such a great listener and a great guy to be around. He's going to help you find that dream home. So give him a call. 254-214-3713 or online, lancedonaldson.exprealty.com.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs, too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, rye, brimstone, and the all-new Lineage in stock. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
When it comes to hauling the family and hauling cargo, see Alan Samuels. Get the king of minivans, the award-winning Chrysler Pacifica, or America's lowest price third-row crossover, Dodge Journey. During the Big Finish event, get 0%, no payments for 90 days, and employee pricing for all on Pacifica. It's minivan first class. And get employee pricing for all on new 2020 Dodge Journeys. Happy holidays from your friend in the car business, Alan Samuels.
Texas board-certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recall drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com. Principal office located in Houston, Texas.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio. Are you a SicEm365 super fan? Then try out our premium subscriptions at SicEm365.com.
All right, here we go. This 5 o'clock hour, man, I enjoy that time with Coach Bennett and so many different memories. It doesn't always have to be anything Baylor, but a lot of things we discussed today, including the loss of Chance Was. Now, Charlie Brewer entered the transfer portal, or said he would, and he played his last game. It was not good. It's been a tough year all the way across the board. Anytime you're 2-7, you can point the fingers anywhere. But I got a hold of Blake Blackmar and wanted him to try to go back to when this freshman who broke all these records and won state titles at Lake Travis named Charlie Brewer entered Baylor football during the transition. And here's a former player in Blake Blackmar, his memories, thoughts about Charlie Brewer when he started trying to move up the ladder at quarterback at Baylor.
Blake, you saw Charlie Brewer arrive on campus as just a young kid out of Lake Travis, spectacular career in high school. And then there was the 1-11 in which he came in and pretty much never gave up the job until he walked out towards the tunnel at the end of the third quarter with his shoulder hurt against Oklahoma State. Your thoughts about the news that Charlie's going to transfer and just what he meant to that program when you were there?
Yeah, I mean, I remember when Charlie came in as a freshman, and we already had a bunch of quarterbacks, and no one really knew who was going to be the starter, but everyone assumed it was going to be a new Solomon. And Charlie, pretty quick once we started doing, he was a quiet kid. He just showed up and worked hard every day. People liked him. His locker was pretty close to mine, but we didn't talk a whole hell of a lot until it must have been the first or second week of fall camp. He went from Coach Rule put the threes in. I remember he put the threes in. We were all taking a break, and he went and tore it up. So then the next drive and then I think someone messed up, like Anu messed up or Zach messed up. So then Charlie took 2 reps. And then he had Charlie over the next 2 weeks, he had Charlie running. Whenever one of the other quarterbacks would mess up, he'd put Charlie in with the ones, even though he's on the depth chart as the third string quarterback. Guy's got, been on campus for a couple of months, and, it wasn't always the prettiest thing in the world, but, everyone saw pretty quick that, damn, that kid's a freaking competitor. He doesn't care that he's a third-string quarterback. He doesn't care that he's smaller or shorter than the other guys. He's going to go out there, and if the throw's not there, he's going to run for it. He's going to make something happen. He's just going to will his way into making something happen for the team. And so pretty quickly, with the rest of us caught on that, kid's something special. And so I was pumped to play with him. I was pumped to block for him, and he was there through 1-11. He was there through the success, and just kind of to see him walk off the field against Oklahoma State and just know that was going to be the last time, it's just kind of, it's tough. It's tough to see someone who's given so much to the program, and the returns have been, he hasn't gotten out everything he's put in, and that's not visible to everyone looking in from the outside. And so it's frustrating having known him on been on both sides of the coin. And so, but I'm happy that it seems like this will probably be the best option for him going forward. I'm hoping that he finds a great fit somewhere and can go have a hell of a senior season.
It's big boy football, so criticism comes with the job. You get the adulation, the criticism as well, and it might have been as much because people wanted someone else at least as an option at quarterback. And you know the story. You've heard it. What are your thoughts about fans who, in my opinion, even if they were frustrated that Dave Aranda didn't try somebody else, it seems like Charlie was the brunt of all the criticism.
Yeah, I mean, to me, whenever something's not going right on a football team, the head coach is the first one whose head's on the line. Then from there, it's pretty much the quarterback. And so, when you have offensive struggles and you have a lot of weapons and stuff, it's really easy to kind of point the finger at at Charlie. But I mean, hey, if you don't have a running game, you don't have good offensive line pass protection or surge up front, there's so many factors that contribute. But again, everyone's going to point the finger at the guy who touches the ball every play. So it's kind of, I think that level of criticism is unwarranted. But at the end of the day, everyone, no one is more frustrated than Charlie at the results of the season and the numbers the offense is putting up. It's just when it seems like every other drive you're stuck in a 3rd and 17 situation. That's pretty impossible on, for any quarterback or any offensive coordinator to get out of. So it's just, they were just put in hard, tough situations because they were, shooting themselves in the foot. It just never seemed to click. And, I think a lot of the scrutiny and kind of fans getting short-tempered with Charlie is unfair. But, that's the name, that's the way of the beast. Football's at the college level and at the NFL level is all about what have you done for me lately, Mm-hmm. So, I think that this is going to be the best path for Chuck moving forward, just because it's, when you've got this kind of divisiveness around you and the program, I think it's better just to clean slate it,
Do you know of any? I asked you this. I've asked other former players. I never heard a player say anything negative about Charlie Brewer. I never heard a coach. Now, there might have been things that coaches said to him in the film room in meetings or whatever, or maybe among themselves that, we can't do this or that. But did you ever hear anyone ever say anything negative about Charlie?
No. I mean, that guy would show up. He'd work. Even if he was, messing around or he was, being funny when we should have been serious. He was just any little infraction, or anything that you could complain about Chuck is something that you could say about any, high or college kid at that age. Everyone's done something once in a while that, real small like that. And it's really hard to go out there and criticize or say something bad about a kid who just wears his effort and pride out for everyone to see, He was never, Charlie didn't sulk. He didn't sulk at practice. He didn't sulk in meetings after a hard game. Like, he was always back in the facility, ready to see, what we could do to get better next week. And who was right there with him? Garrett McGuire.
Yep.
So Garrett McGuire is like the Robin at Charlie's Batman. They were always in there together, just trying to get better. And so it's, it's almost kind of fitting that they're both leaving at the same time. Different reasons, different scenarios and everything, but I think it'd be weird to have one without the other.
You sometimes stunned as an offensive lineman how he would lower himself at the goal line. I remember a game even last year against TCU when that thing went 3 or 4 overtimes. I said, "Oh my God, he won't make it." And was there ever anyone? I don't know about tougher, but his toughness, is it hard to explain?
I think it is kind of hard to explain without really being there on the field and knowing Charlie, because it's not like he wasn't doing the same thing at practice, especially with those rules with practice in the early days were very physical. And that was one of the reasons that everyone loved Charlie, because even though he's got the red shirt on, he was going to, the red shirt in practice meaning don't hit the quarterback, he didn't red shirt, but he would lower the shoulder. He was not afraid to get in there and, go hit Clay Johnson in the chin to try and get a first down, So it was one of those things, when he first started, you loved it. And as he kept going, you're like, man, anytime when your quarterback is getting 10, 15 carries a game, maybe even the leading rusher on the team, that kind of makes you pause, especially if the guy's not 6'4", 240 and built like a tank. So, as he got older in his career, you like to see it on a third down to get the first down, but the frequency of it didn't decrease. So, you kind of get worried for him.
Blake, thank you, man. Appreciate it. You were there. You saw him grow up in the program, the 1-11 beatings, and then also, of course, the fact that he found you guys, along with what you were doing, everyone was doing to get to a bowl game. No question about it. Thanks for your time. We appreciate it.
Thanks, man. No problem.
Blake Blackmar, former Baylor offensive lineman on Charlie Brewer, SicEm365 Radio.
All right, there's a lot of incentives that are right now available at Allen Samuels, Dodge Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat on, employee pricing for all vehicles, pretty much every one of them on the lot. Nearly every new vehicle has 0% financing, whether it's for 60, 72, or 84 months. Every new vehicle has no payments for 90 days. For example, the beautiful Ram truck's third consecutive year, Motor Trend's Truck of the Year, and there's nothing that comes close to a Ram. The most awarded SUV in history is Jeep, and there's opportunities and incentives on Jeeps, including the 2021 Cherokees for 0% for 72 months employee pricing and no payments for 90 days. It's like the trifecta. And the Gladiator. The Gladiator, 100% SUV, 100% truck, the Swiss Army knife of SUVs, in the Chrysler Pacifica, which is a great minivan, the hybrid, the king of the minivans, the most luxurious family ride you can imagine, up to $9,500 in values and employee pricing for all. So as I mentioned, employee pricing for all on almost every vehicle, 0% financing on all and every new vehicle from 60 to 72 to 84 months, and every new vehicle has no payments for 90 days. It's Allen Samuels, Dodge Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Right now, the staff is there ready, waiting for you. You can go online, AllenSamuelsDCJ.com. If you drop by the dealership and you see Ted Teague, shake his hand. He might be one of the happiest people I've ever known. And AJ and all the great sales reps. AJ's the one that sold me my new car after I didn't buy one for nearly 20 years. But AJ got me interested, and I'll never forget that, and I haven't regretted that decision at all. And he stayed in touch with me even though that was back in May. It's Allen Samuels, Dodge Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat, Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco.
With more than 160,000 alumni worldwide and counting, the Baylor family is growing. And through the university's expanded Baylor alumni program, the family is growing closer. With hundreds of local volunteers planning events in cities and towns around the country, you can gather with fellow Bears no matter where you are. So, get connected, get something started, get involved, and make plans to get together with Baylor alumni. Visit us at baylor.edu/alumni.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like First Free Checking, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, cause weight gain, and wreak havoc on your sexual desire and performance. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results, so if you're tired of being tired, I challenge you to man up and Google search Low T Waco or go online pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $150 a month, includes lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, follow-up visits compared to $395 a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T as board-certified physician consultations will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone available. Contact Petty Clinic Low T today, just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway. Petty Clinic Low T, helping men become the high-performance men they deserve to be. PettyClinicLowT.com or Google search Low T Waco.
Born in Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. For 2.5 years, they've been bringing high-quality beer to Central Texas at their location on Bridge Street in East Waco. And this football season, you need to stop by on game day for curbside pickup or stop by their tent next to Sic'Em365 at Brazos Parking for your pregame refreshment. Brotherwell Brewing believes in community and bringing people together to enjoy products made in their community. So for your game day, whether it's a tailgate or at home, stop by Brotherwell Brewing for high-quality craft beer made right here in Central Texas, 400 East Bridge Street, and check them out online at brotherwell.com.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
This is SicEm365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The SicEm365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
All right, so much that we've tried to cover and really not nearly enough time. We've heard from various players, former players in the loss of the life of Chance Was, even Phil Bennett. And Kip Riley just sent me this as well, and I did pass this along to Coach Bennett. Your visit with Phil Bennett today was one of the best ever. His authenticity is special. Listening to him talk about Chance reminds me of how much he and other coaches care about their players. Coach Bennett helped my son out so much when Scott was at Baylor. Special man, thanks again. That's from Kip Riley, a direct message. Kip, we appreciate you listening to SicEm365 Radio. We try to get you feedback on Charlie Brewer. Now you start to turn the page, and eventually with a new signing day Wednesday, you start focusing even now more on the depth chart going forward. The John Lovett decision. Cowboys, we didn't say too much about them, but the Cowboys, they won, and they looked like they were having fun. Of course, playing a team that's worse than you, that helps, and there aren't many worse than them. I got to say this, though, Paul, the Washington skins on the wall.
The football team, they're playing well.
They're 6-7. They play Philadelphia, which will be interesting. They look better with Jalen Hurts, but this Chase Young.
Well, I think they have the best coach in the NFC East, in Ron Rivera.
You do?
I do. I mean, and I don't know anything about Joe Judge yet, and he's done surprisingly well that first year in New York. But I do like if it was up to me and I had to hire one of the four of them, if those were my four candidates, I would hire Ron Rivera.
Yeah, I think the defense is going to be really good for a long time. They're going to run into a situation here in a couple years where
maybe
they're going to
this week.
Well, they're going to run into a situation in a couple years where they're going to have to pay a lot of money to a few different guys. And, Montez Sweat and Chase Young. Basically the whole D-line. But right now, as they're all young and on rookie contracts, I don't even think Chase Young, I think he did it to where he converted to where he signed like $25 million up front or something. And so he's making like $600,000 this year or something crazy. But, they've got a great unit. They started building that a few years ago, and it's paid off. They need to get an offensive line. They need some more skill guys to help out with Gibson and also McLaurin and figure out exactly what the future looks like at quarterback as well, because I don't think it's Dwayne Haskins, and it's maybe Alex Smith for another year or two. I don't know, but they're not that far away. They do need to fix some things on offense, though.
Chase Young yesterday had 6 tackles, a sack, 2 quarterback hits, a tackle for a loss, 2 batted passes, a forced fumble that was different than the fumble recovery he picked up and ran in for a touchdown. Patrick Mahomes threw a couple picks yesterday, but they came back to win there by Xavier Howard.
He picked off one of those passes.
Like this.
Like it was like he was taking like something, plucking something.
He's taking an apple out of the tree.
Yeah, exactly. He has the most interceptions in the first 53 career games. Xavier Howard has 21, and this is over the last 3 decades in the NFL. The only one with more is Ed Reed with 21, who was an absolute great player.
Yeah.
As I predicted, Baylor defensive players standing out of the NFL.
Gus Malzahn, one of 6 coaches who have beaten Nick Saban 3 times. Lloyd Carr at Michigan when he was at Michigan State. Les Miles, Joe Paterno, Joe Tiller. Was he at Purdue?
Mm-hmm.
Tommy Tuberville.
Is that Senator?
Yes,
Senator
Tommy Tuberville.
Thomas Tuberville. And he's gone because his record against teams with winning records was like under 500, which, a lot of people look at that and go, oh, that's not very good. It actually is hard. Most people don't have winning records against teams with winning records. There's a handful of them who do. But Gus Malzahn had beaten Nick Saban 3 times.
It's $22 million. They're paying him not to work at Auburn.
Miles, Hugh Freeze, and Dabo Sweeney have beaten him twice. Sorry.
Look, I love working here at SicEm365, but if they make me the deal that I'm going to make $22 million to never come here again, I'm sorry, guys. Goodbye.
That's all it takes, Arm.
All $22 million.
The 1A game, the Division 1A, Class 1A game division, I guess it would be Division 2 has been canceled, postponed until further notice. We've gone over a lot of the other stories. Auburn was 20-24 against teams that entered the game against them with a winning record.
Yeah, the Bama losses, there's a lot of those on there. But, I think with Malzahn, they've just been talking about this for like 4 years anyways. And even like a year removed from his last national title, they were talking about like being sick of him already. So it's one of those where it just feels like it's probably just time to go their separate ways.
Yeah, kind of like maybe with Charlie Brewer and Baylor.
They're looking at Hugh Freeze, and if Hugh Freeze leaves Liberty, obviously, which he probably will because all these jobs are opening up, and that then opens the door for McCall and Browse to potentially reunite at Liberty.
Because he's no longer at Mount Vernon. Derek, and I've gotten a couple of texts, and you got them too, about there's a Midland oil man. I know we've heard that for the last couple of weeks, and
about
whatever
Tech?
happens.
Are you talking about Texas Tech?
Yeah.
Okay, that's over.
Matt Wells, but now the offensive coordinator's out there. Who, if you're Matt Wells and you hired Art Browse as the offensive coordinator, you are already a dead man walking.
I'm not doing it. Like as much as Art could help me, no, I'm not doing it because it's going to be one of the things Art would even unintentionally be taking my place.
Yeah. Derrick Henry now has 4 career games with 200 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns, breaks a tie with Hall of Famers Jim Brown, Barry Sanders, and LaDainian Tomlinson from University High and TCU.
He's been way better than I expected him to be at the NFL level. I think Trent Richardson left a bad taste in people's mouths for big Alabama running backs because he was such a bust. But Derrick Henry's been the dude and more. He's incredible.
What would scare me about him is he's got this, you can see when he hits, it's kind of like on the video game where you hit the button to make him go faster. That's how he is in real life, where it's like, okay, he's at 80% speed here, 80, and then like, oh, he sees open field. I never
realized he was that fast.
Yeah.
I never, because he's so big, it's hard to see big, tall guys be that fast. By the way, thanks to Cameron Bonner, the young man from St. Thomas High School in Houston, committed to Baylor today, for joining us today. Former players J.J. Joe, Elliot Coffey, Blake Blackmar, and Mo Porter on many things Baylor, Charlie Brewer, Baylor football, Chance Was. Phil Bennett, also a part of the show in March. Kevin Hoffman, detailed interview with him as they play for the state championship Wednesday night against Windthorst, trying to become the 5th school ever in history, 100 years of high school football in Texas, to win 4 consecutive state titles.
So stay tuned, because as I wrote last Thursday or Friday, it's going to be an interesting offseason once the game on Saturday wrapped up. The game on Saturday was not interesting, but I think everybody breathed a sigh of relief after it was over with. And in the time since that game ended, Charlie Brewer and John Lovett have already entered the transfer portal. Yep. So there will be some decisions to be made by guys like Treston Ebner and others, and should be quite the offseason.
Tyquan Thornton. But you know what? I think in some cases that little dial might be pointing in a better direction than what you thought. We got to go.
I know that's the same story, though. I mean, it's going to be equally as large if he says, hey, I'm sticking around. So.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not always when they leave. It's also the great news if they stay, and perhaps a lot of them will. Paul, Catalina, Armstrong, Sims, Craig Smoak, thanks for your time. I'm David Smoak. Thank you for listening whenever you do. However long it might be, we love you. We appreciate you, and thank you. Good night.
Learning to navigate life in the COVID-19 world has been a struggle, and where and how to get tested has been one of the biggest challenges. Impact Health Labs has your answer. If you need mass testing for your office, church, dormitory, or school, Impact Health Labs is who to call. They will come to you, conduct the testing at your location, and have the test back within 24 hours. Most major insurance accepted, meaning your out-of-pocket cost is low. So no more waiting by the phone for days to find out the results. Impact Health Labs was founded by 3 Army radiologists. They believe in accuracy, efficiency, and doing the job right. Call 254-744-6233 to set up your group screening today. Impact Health Labs, on-site, prompt, and accurate, taking COVID-19 head-on. Again, that number is 254-744-6233.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance has been proudly serving Texans across the state for over 60 years. Call 254-772-8090 to find an agent who will provide a free review of your auto, home, and life coverage.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.